Don't ask me how, because I don't know what happened, but I rode to the top of the lake and I spin. I take like one stroke. And next thing you know, the blade is like dead straight up. It just hit something in the water. There wasn't a buoy there, but it might have been this, I don't know what it was, a stick or a bird or whatever it was. But it was like directly up. I'm like, all right, I'm trying to hold on to it. And I'm leaning this way. And it comes down super hard. And obviously I fall in instantly. But the bad thing is, I can't get back in the dirt when I've fallen in. So I had to swim with my single to the side, empty it all out, and like get back in. The guys in the team, they had a lot of fun. For like the whole week, like, you bring your goggles? Yeah. You got swimming cap? Yeah, good lad. You brought your trunks with you? I was like, please, it's been like 2 weeks now. Like, yeah, you know, like, have you got your goggles with you today? I'm like, it's an erg, man. Just leave it out.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Last Stroke Counts. Today's guest is a first-year athlete in his GB rowing team journey, a Welsh rowing athlete, Cedol Dafydd. Please welcome to the show. We haven't had a Henley winner for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Look back. We've done anyone for a little while, but yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, no, it's good. Glad to have you on. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I think a couple of interesting things to talk about. Obviously, we haven't spoken to anyone who's sort of at the start of this Olympiad, how things may have changed or stayed the same as they do. Yeah, and then also, we were saying before we've done an episode which would have aired before this one about mixing studying and rowing, and you've done a bit of that as well. Yeah, so I think that'll be an interesting thing. And then obviously I know you from, I don't think I can claim to be your coach. I happened to be coaching on the team when we did home countries in Cork. When was that? Was that 20?
That was 2023, yeah. Right, yeah.
23, yeah.
It feels a while ago now, doesn't it?
Time flies, yeah, definitely.
Well, it's going to be coming up in 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, this summer.
We would have just been like freshly 3 months into the pod when that happened. So yeah.
Coming up, and there was someone that came up to me. There was an Irish cox that came up to me. and was like, "Oh, you do the rowing podcast?"
Right.
I was like, "No way!"
Yeah. Do you know my flip flops?
Yeah.
Oh, I had them for so then I lost them at a race, the row gear ones.
Yeah.
I wore them. The issue is, you only got flip flops of rowing. You wear them for like every day for your life.
Yeah.
I don't wear shoes.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they're gone now, unfortunately.
I will get you a new pair. No,
I would love some. Yeah,
it's awesome. I'm not sure we got some in the right size here, but
what size are you?
Depends, you know.
We'll see what we've
done. 12,
13s or 30, I think. Yeah.
We'll speak to our point man in China and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, I do remember when I ordered them. I was like, obviously we better get some bigger sizes. So I ordered them from China, and like I said, I can have this many of this sizes, and then like how many of like size 12 and size 13. And the guy was like, I need to go and check with manufacturing. You've ordered a very, very big size. Like, this will be special order. And then I think I specifically paid like more money on the size 13s because there's like that much more rubber in them. It was kind of weird, yeah. Anyway, let's go back. Let's go back a step and find out.
We'll do the e-commerce podcast next week.
Yeah. That one's on that other channel. How you find rowing? Because this is quite interesting. Because I think we knew you didn't do it when you were younger, but like looking back at it's like really quick.
Yeah, it is. It's also like every kind of year, it's been a step further on from the previous year, and obviously I enjoy it, but it's very different to what I'm used to or what I've ever done before in my life, in my sporting kind of life. So I started rowing. I joined a novice program in Bath University in 2019.
So were you always sporty as a kid?
Oh, right. Yeah. So yeah. But I think by the time I was like 15, 16, I was swimming 14 times a week. You know, it was a crazy schedule from a very young age, which I did enjoy, but also there's a reason I had to quit swimming when I was 18, because I feel like I just completely burned out the enjoyment and the whole kind of like, you know, you get up in the morning, you jump in the pool, you're thinking, I actually hate being here. And it's not like, I hate this time of day. It was like, I actually despise this session, and, you know, jumping in and you know, coaches for swimming is Bruce. It's crazy. It's a different world to rowing in some sense.
Well, you don't have a change in environment at all. You're just in the pool. It's always that 50 meters in front of you. There's not like you can at least, I don't know, make your mate hit a tree or something when you're real bad steering.
It was no funny just stories swimming. You know, no one crashes or
It was always the sport week, and like anyone who would sort of complain about doing like endless miles or like say at Caversham just having to spin every 2K, and you'd be like, well, at least we don't do swimming. Like people used to say that a lot. Like at least there's some variation to look at.
But that explains why you've got such a good, obviously, start to rowing.
Yeah, it's helped a lot. Yeah, but it is very kind of like, you know, people go, "Oh, aren't you bored erging and stuff?" And, you know, like, compared to swimming, it's not that bad. Your music on, you know, when people eventually, when we row in time, sometimes it's nice. But like swimming, you're looking at that black line down the middle of the pool, and it's very quiet. And I also wear earplugs while I swim, so it's really like quiet for 2 hours. You don't really hear or speak too much for 2 hours, and then you know you go to school and you smell like chlorine all the time. Then you go back to the pool afterwards. So I did that for most of my childhood.
Was that to try and do at a high level?
I did, yeah. So my whole family was all my siblings were swimmers. Weirdly, because my parents weren't massive swimmers or even athletes, you know, and all the kids, our siblings, all got into it and was really like national level. I think most of us got to. I luckily got into long distance running as well and was international with that from 16 to 18. So I think I went to the first World Junior Cup for mountain running when I was 16 in Czech Republic, and that was my first kind of like international taste of competition, and it was, I thought I was the real deal. When I went then, I didn't do that well. I did 28, 29, or something very average, but I was just like, wow, this is what I want to do. So when swimming wasn't working out, I got to university and I was like, I need to pick a new sport. Like I need something different. And obviously rowing, I don't know how much, you know, rowing in North Wales is very, very, very limited, you know?
Yeah.
And for a number of reasons, like we have lakes, but we don't have the infrastructure for it, the money, just the experience in the sport. So when I got to university, I was in the Freshers' Fair and I saw some people doing the erg, like 100-meter sprints. And I thought, oh, that looks all right. You know, I'll give it a go. And there's a lot of people cheering. It looks competitive. And I went to this novice session and it was, I hated that first session. You know, no one can put the blades in the same, not even row. It just actually sits. You know, you've almost felt, you know, you sit in a boat like this and like my whole hip, my back. If you haven't rowed, you just sat in this boat for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I went home with my flatmates. I was like, never doing that again. But luckily, Bucks Indoors was a couple of weeks later. And I said, I'll do that because, you know, I've signed up and I know it's a night out in Bristol afterwards or whatever, you know. And I did quite well. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty good split. You know, we'll see how it is. So I stuck with it. Those first 3 months, any novice at university will know the first couple of months is brutal. Not because you're training hard, not because it's just you cannot physically row. Like no one's got any idea how to actually row. So you just like, if you get 2 strokes in a session, you go, wow, what a great session. Yeah. You rowed 3 kilometers in 2 hours, but what a session because all of you put the blades in the same time. And the first race I did, you might have raced it at Bristol Uni Head.
Right, yeah.
In the novice category, and all the guys, you know, the senior members of like the Bath University boat club, not the novices, you'll come down and you can hear them laughing at you while you're rowing, and everyone's catching crabs all the time, and that was not that fun for a couple of months. And then once I kind of got into that idea of this is what rowing feels like in terms of erging and training, and like I said with the swimming, the mileage intensity kind of was similar. You know, you train twice a day. It's not that bad. Weights is fun, and you know. And then COVID happened, and so lockdown for the entirety of 2022. I think I might have sat in a boat in the first 9 months twice, maybe. So I thought rowing was over, but luckily my parents had a erg in the house for some reason. Like, none of us row or anything. I think we had it from a gym down the street.
So you had that growing up, and you've never used it?
Never touched it. No, never touched it. It's an old thing, and just, you know, I didn't know what it was. It's not a machine that I tend to, no one really knows what it is.
Yeah.
We got home and I was like, well, I've got an erg. There's nothing else to do. I might as well just do whatever.
Yeah.
I remember just searching online, like, what sessions to do, because I didn't really know, you know, I would never do a steady state. You know, it sounds boring. 5Ks back to back, just whatever the rates, whatever split, just put the fight and just start going and see what happens. And that was the training for most of the lockdown. Especially my first year was just erging, but not really any program or anything. And when I go back to university, I was happening to be in the gym. And this is now at the end of my second year at university now. So I've done basically a whole year of no water rowing, just erging for fun, really, and just for fitness. And I was doing the 30 rate 20 in the gym. It's just got on and just thought, I'm going to absolutely fit for 30 minutes. No warm up, in shorts, obviously. And then Dan Harris came over. Dan Harris, I think now he's the head of the performance academies.
Yeah.
But at the time, he was a coach at Start. And he comes over and he's like, what's your plan with rowing? I was like, absolutely nothing. But he was like, we should join me and Start. And luckily I was in a placement not far from Bath my third year. And it kind of started quite, I kind of got together quite well. It was all by luck that I even, went to Bath to start rowing. And lucky I had an erg in the room and was in the gym at the same time. It kind of all was like by chance that I was rowing. And then as soon as I joined Dan, then it was like serious training. Like, every morning will be this. You got certain mileage, certain rates, and how to actually row. And it's basically, I basically had to not start all over, but everything I knew about erging or whatever was pretty much wrong. And I remember looking at videos back. I just saw them not long ago. We were looking at videos back from when I was a couple of weeks into, and I just looked terrible. just doesn't look like I'm rowing properly, but. Yeah, so then since then it's kind of just each year we try and aim for something higher. We try and see how far I can go and how quick, and it's just going from there to
what sort of
now
program would they start you on at the start program? I'm quite curious. Obviously, from absolute newcomers, they're known to develop such good athletes, and I don't know what kind of mileage do they put on you or.
So I wasn't your average, I think, start newcomer because. Well, firstly, I'd come from a high level in different sport. I don't know if that's always the case. I think this time younger, they are, like you said, they're complete novices in any sport.
Yeah.
And also at the time of my placement year, I worked as a sports coach in a boarding school in Warminster. So that the hours were crazy. So Dan and I kind of worked out this plan was, someday we'd do a 12K erg and weights, and then you do water and weights, and the water sessions would be in pitch black because I'd have to get back to school by 8:30. And I remember one morning, he's taking a video of me and I watched it on the landing stage and I just can't see. It's like someone's filmed, in a dark room. And he's like, yeah, can you see him? I have absolutely no idea where I am in this video. He was in a launch just driving. We couldn't see anything, but we kind of assumed no one else is going to be out this early because it's ridiculous, right? And I think at the time I would be able to get around 4 to 6K in pitch black and then have to go. So that it was different, but around 12, 16K ergs and and UT2 wise, no one also told me how to pace yourself or how it should feel. So I just thought quicker.
Yeah.
To the point where I was saying to Dan, these are really hard 12K. So he was like, they're like a steady state. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, that makes way more sense. So I've just been doing every 12K as hard as I can, not rate 19.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really fun year. It was really
So the half-hour rate 20 would have been like a chill session compared to 12K or rate 19 max effort.
Yeah, I was going to say, with all that time, obviously juggling it with uni and a job and everything, what kept you coming back? But you kind of made the fun of it.
The competitive side, I'm really competitive when I do sports. Other parts of I don't really care, but when it comes to sport, or if I'm doing it, I really love racing part. I had this thing where people say they love the grind. I don't really understand that. I love the racing and love finish. The journey, not the destination, I think is wrong. I don't really agree with that much. I get you have to do the journey, but I love the destination. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I know what I understand you have to work hard, but racing is by far, what I enjoyed. And I think because I was so new, so I was training with people so much better than me. I was training, Becky Wild was there in my third year, and obviously she's, an Olympic bronze, and Jamie Gare, my doubles partner from Henley, and he'd been running for a lot longer. So there were guys there that were a lot better than me who kind of showed the standard and the level you can get to if you keep training. And I think as well, it's also just, I think when I was working at the school, it was because it was such an intense kind of schedule for me at work. I quite liked doing something different, getting away from, I don't know if you know Warminster, that's where the school was. Driving to Bath in the morning, rowing in the river in the pitch black. I found it all fun. Don't get me wrong, falling in was not fun. I absolutely despised falling in. And it wasn't like a funny, like, because obviously, I don't know if you might have seen Dan's Instagram, but he films everything. So as soon as I fell in, I know he's got his camera out. And I'd be in the water, like, oh, I know he's going to get this shot, you know, and I know it's going to be on Instagram. And people could be like, oh, I saw you fell in again this morning. I'm like, oh, yeah. But I don't know. I think once I committed to saying, I'm going to row, I'll be a rower. Well, that's it. I kind of have to commit. You know what I mean? I can't half-ass because I don't really see a point if I was to say, yeah, I'm going to join Start, but I'm not really going to take it seriously. I'm not really, if it's cold, I won't go. And
You don't want to be on the start line and be like, could have done more.
Exactly, yeah. Well, you always wonder, could you have gone harder after you finish an erg? But it's definitely better than going, I could have even trained more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did enjoy it, and Dan's a very good coach, and we worked well together, so it was kind of easy, to have, like, someone who was backing you as well, because he was really keen on, like, making sure I was able to train when I can, and really helpful in terms of adapting the program just for me, because I was away from Bath. So I think if it wasn't for him as well, I would have been struggling to find the time, but he made it work, and in my final year when I came back to uni, it was 100 times better. And now, I can train twice in the morning, go home, and I'll see you tomorrow. Not like, I'll see you next week. I'm going to close between, and I'll see you in a week's time. Yeah. It was good.
That's good. That sounds awesome. Like, he's gone above and beyond, but also, like, so awesome. Like, thinking from like the coach's perspective, to have an athlete who just like, yeah, 4:45, I'm gonna have to get up. We'd be like, sweet, let's do this.
Yeah, it was one of the worst day I had of the week was a Thursday, and I remember this because I had the morning duties in boarding house as well, which means you got to be in the house from like 7 a.m. So the kids can go to school. You have to basically be in charge, like the teacher in the morning. So I'd have to wake up around 4:40 or 5 a.m. to get to the gym to either erg or do weights. I'd be done with everything I wanted to do before 7 a.m. because then I was on call for, everything else. And you'd get to like 5 p.m. and you think, I've been up for so long already. And I'm also going to go to the gym again and also train again. Every time I went to the gym in the evening, so it's never had an erg or weights or even like steady state, I'd open the gym for all the kids at the school so they can just, train and do whatever. I just remember, that I was in charge. So I was just like, got to make sure no one's messing around. No one really did, except for once I saw this kid. That's a really brave guy. I was erging. He put 100 kilograms on. I just took it off and started to go down. I was like, oh my God, the jump off the erg. I was like, oh my God, this kid is absolutely just going, and I was like always on edge when the kids were there. Because I was just like, you see 6 kids in a row, biceping, curling the barbell. It's like, God, this is just a nightmare trying to erg. And you see it all in front of you. I should tell them, but also they're not injuring themselves. But I should be like, guys, I respect I love the grind, right? You want that pump, but that is not the way to do it. So I'd have to, sometimes I'd tell Dan to be like, if you got like, say you got like 4 1Ks. On the third one, I had to go help a kid squatting. I couldn't finish it because I had to help someone who had the barbell stuck. So it was a very, very fun year.
You must be like, what is going on?
Yeah, what? Well, these kids, they're like boarding school from, like year 4 or 5. So no one's actually, I don't think, gone to them how to lift anyways. And I respect they all want to work out and stuff, but it was just, honestly, it was the most nerve-wracking hour of my life trying to erg and make sure no one kills himself while they're lifting weights.
Yeah, multitasking.
Yeah, it was
perfect.
fun. Yeah.
So that means you're probably steering the boats now because you can do the 2 things at once.
I wish that was true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, you just said like you don't really understand the grind. You love the destination, not quite the journey. In all of this, where does waking up at 4:45 a.m. consecutively, like that's literally the definition of the grind. Is I'm going to get up before 5 a.m., get my work in. Yeah. I'm going to get one over all of you guys.
Well, it's more like, I feel like you have to do it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like you have to do it. And it's not because I'm just, I'm not David Goggins at all. I'm not that kind of like, if I get up early, I'm just like, if I have to work out today, I have to do it before, work, because I can't fully commit if I've got this job. So I was like, well, I'll just wake up earlier. And luckily swimming you wake up ridiculously early every day, but for how many years I did it. So I kind of like waking up early is not that much of an issue for me. It was just going to bed super late because you're also on call the whole evening. So it's like rushing everyone. Yeah, I need to go to bed. Just, everything's fine. Everything's fine. But I know what you mean. I didn't love it at all. But I feel like I feel like you just have to do it and just, you've got to suck up sometimes, which
No, that's better. I was just wondering if were they even considering that the grind? It's like, just wake up at 4:40 hours. No big deal. It's a grind. I don't know what that is. I've never met the guy.
The more you have to do to get it, the better it feels when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I kind of also see what you mean, like the grind. I think it's almost like you're kind of tricking yourself into loving the nasty bit because you know it ends in the good bit.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, your opinion is like, well, I'm just going to enjoy race day and then I'll enjoy all the shit I've done because it's like now I'm putting it together.
I enjoy what training does. I enjoy what a training allows you to do, but I don't enjoy the actual right there and then. Like, when you're mid-January and freezing and it's not that fun, but I enjoy what's going to let us be able to do in the summer as a team and
and it's
whatever,
It's that kind of thing. Like it's more. I think I actually was fixing eggs in the CrossFit gym, and I heard two athletes talking about the arm bike, and one was like, "Oh my god, the arm bike is like horrific," and the other one's like, "Yeah, I know, let's do it." It's that kind of like, oh, I found that thing that's really hard. Like, let's do that. Yeah. Like,
but I find it easier as well is if everyone else is also in, like you said, if your mate is also like, let's chase it, let's go for it. It's easier. So when you have a squad of I don't know, you're 30 lads, all chasing after an erg, or you're all getting after it together. It's like, okay, this is actually fun because everyone's going to be dying. But if you're just by yourself, it's a bit like, this isn't as fun as that.
100%. Like, you just look at those Leander training videos, or like when they're on the ergo and everyone's like in sync. Obviously, you see them from GB team as well, but when the music's playing, the sort of camaraderie, the whole feel, the fact that you all finished the session, you've all struggled, it's been really difficult. You go and get breakfast, you scheme what's happening. Exactly. It's fun. Yeah,
it's like I don't know, the vids from Brooks as well. You got 50 guys on an erg, all just going as hard as they can. I'm not saying that's an actual fun activity, but I can see that being appealing to a lot of people who are like, if I have to work out, let's all do it together and let's all just, be in pain together.
How are you going to ease off when you've got obviously 45 other guys around you? How are you going to ease off when you've got 45 other guys around you, giving it their best? Like, you're not going to be like, and you just take a few strokes off.
Yeah, got it. You're not going to not do it and, you sit on the sideline because, I don't know about you guys, but when I've been injured before, the worst thing is seeing everyone else training really hard and going really well. And you're kind of sat there going, I wish I could, but I just can't right now. And that's the worst. It's worse than actually being in the pain of a workout,
I always, whenever I was ill or injured, and I would always, if I caught myself sort of feeling sorry for myself, so I'd be like, fucking just I promise, I'll never complain about training again. Just make me better. Just let me get back in the game. I'll never complain. As long as I'm not ill or injured, I'd I promise God I won't. But, just trying to beg with
never cry again.
I could beg with the gods of rowing. Please let me get back in. And it was because then there would be other times when you haven't missed any sessions for ages and you'd be fucking exhausted, almost when could I get a day off maybe? And then the second you're out for 3 days, you're
but it's a day off, isn't it? It's I think you need a day off, and I do love it, a morning off, but by the end of the day off, you feel really lazy. You feel really, I don't know about you, but I feel really weird at the end of a Sunday. And I'm kind of not looking forward to the next day, but it's back to routine, you wake up at the same time, the same workout breakdown. I know what you mean about sitting at the side and being because I was at Sierra Nevada last year. I was on Chef's Camp last year.
I've done that camping.
Yeah. And I injured myself in the first session or the second show. My whole back just spazzed and it hurt so much. But anyway, after that, I couldn't really do anything except for bikes, very monitored bikes. But when you look, the bikes are right behind all the ergs and all the guys are working together and, they're really a favorite. So everyone's cheering on and you kind of just say this sucks, man. You were kind of, and I was how's your back? Just go, keep it out, man. In a nice way. Don't ask the same question over and over.
Yeah. It didn't get better since 2 hours ago.
You saw me this morning, like we're together every day, but yeah,
Yeah.
that is something that I think athletes will definitely agree.
Again, I think dealing with injuries, that's like another like barrier to entry of the high levels. If you're going to do a sport for a certain amount of time, you're going to get injured. To a lot of people, that's the point where they're like, okay, cool, this is kind of more than I wanted to give.
Yeah.
You come back, like you kind of entered like a different level. With the people who are doing it at that level, it's like gets like a kind of extra level of seriousness, I guess.
Was it not Hodgie that basically said if you're going to do sport to that level, you could, like getting injured is almost a guarantee.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
is.
going to be like, how are you going to deal with that? Because that's coming.
Yeah,
That's not even like an if I get injured. Like
No,
you got to have a game plan.
also like rowing's not. I think your body's not meant to be in the position you get in rowing, so it's a bit not a surprise.
Varying, but like any sport. But
exactly. Jamie,
Yeah.
we have our differences. Like rugby was a big sport I played. The thing I'd hate about rugby was you could be having like such a great consistent part of the season and then bang, concussion. And you're like, like that's it. Like, whereas in rowing, you do have those situations, but it doesn't seem as like,
no, it's not.
it's like, it's like almost like, yeah.
It's also rugby. You just could be a brutal tackle and that's it.
Yeah, one
chop
could be a whole season.
Yeah,
or more.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But it's because I was saying to you guys just at the start, when I had my knee injury last year, I had to ski erg for like 3 months, and honestly, that was the most miserable couple of months of my life. You just get the different parts of your body hurt, so like your traps and like your lats and just behind your shoulders. Some days, just like I literally cannot lift a shrug because for all of a sudden your body's just pulling down for hours every day.
We were talking about it the other day when I was at Caversham, like stuck on the bike, like the weird stuff you do to like the weird YouTube videos. I like, you just like thought I fell into this like whole series of these bullies getting beaten up by MMA fighters. And then like, there was like, we were talking about some songs and it was like real mashup of like just songs I wouldn't normally listen to. It's kind of like thinking in my head, I was like, yeah, that was a weird time, man. Because I mean, maybe that's similar to, I was going to ask Hilly about the swimming. Like, you said it's silent when you do it. Like, that's a lot of time with yourself in your own head.
Yeah.
And that's what's difficult about being injured. It's just like you and your thoughts.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think, especially on a bike, like, you're sat down and I think erging's so much more going on every time. But when you're on a bike for hours and like you get there before everyone else, they leave before you, you're stuck there by, like you said, you're watching the weirdest. I went through a phase of watching military dogs reunite with their owners for some reason. I was, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I'm not even a huge fan of dogs and I don't really know why I'm watching this, but I was like, oh, that's the stuff,
Anything to take your head off.
That video right now, yeah. But like, it definitely is, because when I was injured with my knee, I did a lot of swimming. Because of like, my coach was at the time was like, I could do double ski ergs if you want, or you can swim. I was like, I'll definitely go back to swimming.
Yeah.
And this was now 4 or 5 years since I've swam properly, like actually do sessions. And I forgot, like you said, it's a lonely, and I kept on thinking while I was swimming, I'd have like a phase of like, my rowing career is over. My knee's never going to get better, right? And then that's it now. I might swim. I might go back to swimming. I might do triathlon. Actually, I might start boxing. You just think of where rowing's over because I'm just never going to get better. But then you distract yourself with that long enough, you will just get better. And it's kind of like, you look back at it now, it's like, wow, I was miserable. I was seriously miserable because I moved into, this is a funny story, but my housemate now, I moved in at the end of January, last year, 2 weeks into my injury. And this is like the lowest of the lowest. So the first 2 months, I was the most miserable guy to be around. And then she was like, oh yeah, you're a lot nicer now because you actually speak now. You'd come home and be like, well, I'm off to bed, I'll see you later, but it was honestly because I trained swimming by myself and then the guys on the water, so I'm ski erging by myself and I'm doing a rehab weights, which is also by myself. And the person I'd see the most would be the physio, which we get along very well, but at the same time, no disrespect to physios, but if you're seeing a physio all the time, it means you're broken, you know what I mean? So I was just get up and be like, this is going to be a tough day again. And I had to drive to, have you been to High Wycombe pool?
Yeah.
Because the Henley one is interesting,
It's small.
You've got some stories about it. Yeah, where High Wycombe's a seriously good pool. I think that's where Tom Dean used to train. I think, not Tom Dean, there's a British guy from the British team now.
Tom Daly?
No, I can't remember who, a swimmer, but he used to be he's in the team. I used to train there. So it's a really good pool, but it just meant you got to drive. half an hour there by yourself,
Yeah.
eating in the car by yourself, you're watching videos again. I remember I was watching Netflix in the car between sessions, and this woman came to the door, was like, "Are you going to leave soon?" I was like, "I'm not going anywhere anytime soon." I think it's a double meaning with that, where I was like, "Yeah, just leave me, please." I'm just like, just give me a minute. But yeah, but it is horrible. And I think the more you by yourself, or kind of like the more you think, it just, you're digging yourself a hole every time.
How is this different to being in a single and training in a single for a few months at a time?
I just feel like,
Because you're still on your own, right?
I agree. But you
But you're still eating breakfast together.
That's it.
Getting changed together, showers at the same time. Like
You can paddle next to someone. And
Yeah.
coach is there. I agree with you, mean. Sometimes like it can be but I quite like it because it's what I'm supposed to be doing. I picked rowing, and single scudding is like, that's why I started off and started. It's like the thing I've always wanted to be. Like this is what you're doing right now. Where swimming was just, well, you can't do what you want or what you should be doing, so do this and just wait till you can be able to do it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I enjoy single scudding because you're working on being a better rower, which is what we are as rowers.
Yeah.
Where swimming, I was just waiting for my body to heal so I can then try and row better again.
Yeah.
So I was also months of like, I'm just missing train. I'm just, and then I remember as well as in the water, and you literally think, can I remember how to scull? Or what does the left hand do? You just think all these things, and now looking back, I was just being ridiculous. But I think every person who's been seriously injured, not serious, but like for more than like a week,
Yeah.
has definitely had those kind of like, this is a really shit time of the year.
Yeah. When I was 18, we came back from training camp from Banyeles in January. It was really cold. I forgot to pack kit because I'm an idiot. I was like, I'm Polish. This is easy. What you mean, like 5 degrees? That's warm. Like I used to train in minus 25, whatever. Got pretty ill. I think something happened to my back where I didn't have like a spasm or anything, but I was just kind of twisted. I didn't like sit straight in the boat, and then that kind of like wore on me a little bit. And then I became an indoor rower for 3 months basically. And I was just doing constantly at 2.6Ks. And yeah, getting back in the boat, I literally had like the same thing. Like,
horrible.
Is this what your height's supposed to? Yeah, it's just weird. Like tap down now, or like yeah,
Yeah, it is honestly horrible. Yeah, I remember as well when I started erging again, and they like put the drag factor to 1. I do like 15 minutes. And you're just like, God, I'm doing like 2, the weather split is like 20 splits slower than what you should be. And you're just like, I don't know if I can, like, my body's not used to it. So you sat and you feel really like overweight, I found, because like all of a sudden I'm sat and crouching. And also I'm like, God, I'm so out of shape right now. Who I've been training? I feel like rowing training is quite specific training.
yeah,
You can be fit as a swimmer and also be a ski erger that's fit or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I go back in the boat and like erging, I was just like, oh, this is so not over. Like, I've got to start again.
yeah.
Like, I'm healthy enough to start rowing again, but I'm definitely not fit enough to start rowing again.
Comes back quicker the second time though.
Right, yes.
generally.
Yeah. I think the more injuries you have, the quicker you kind of will get back into it. Yeah.
Sure.
So
Anyway.
just going back then, kind of from your journey from rowing at uni, 3rd year, to then how you kind of got picked up by GB rowing. Was that the start of 3rd year? 3rd year, although it's your 3rd year of rowing, like this is probably your first full season, or
As in my 3rd year of university?
yeah.
Seriously, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, day in, day out,
Yeah.
actually looking for races to
Yeah.
go to Bucks to medal and actually be competitive, not just, wow, you didn't fall in. That's brilliant, mate. Good job. Right. You won that race. Cool. Good for you. It's like,
Do you remember where you lost your novice, like your first win?
it was Bristol novice. We became like second, but I remember my first single race was Monmouth Regatta.
Nice.
They go up Monmouth, 750 meters. And, I was looking like side on, and this man must have been 70 years old. I remember thinking, I am cooked. Like, this guy's got me. Like, he's so like stable. He's not shaking around. He's not checking the gates. Luckily, it was fine. But I was just like, so all of a sudden, I've raced thousands of times in different sports, but I was like, I'm so nervous. Like, I'm really shaking. There was no pressure. There was no like, it was just, Dan literally just said, just go have fun, right? So I did that, and then a week later, the Marlow Regatta in the single.
Very different.
Very, very, yeah. First year is 2,000 meters. Like, where is the end? And I was in a Janusek a big, heavy aluminium front rig at Hangana 6, which was so stable because it was so massive for me.
Yeah.
And I just remember the start of the time trial. Dorney gets a little bit choppy sometimes. I've never been so scared to fall in my life. I honestly was just like, right, I'm going to short up the half slide, just really bring the arms, no legs, so I can just sit stable. And then Dan, I remember because he was cycling alongside, and he was just like, what was that? He was just like, are you all right? I was like, yeah. I was like, what? Why would you rowing like that? I was like, it was choppy. And I was like, it's not really that choppy. Looking back, it wasn't that choppy. But at the time, it was like the sea. So that was my first actual taste of like a 2,000 meter race against people who are miles. I think like Callum Dixon won that day, was obviously, unreal rowers. So I was like, oh, okay, that's the standard I need to be. So when I go back to my third year, I had more of an idea of like how it should be, how it should be looking, how you should be rating. It was just more like yes, I understand it now more. And as soon as I got into my third year, it was straight away like train every day, 3 times a day with the same squad. So every day, your same people, you're working well together. Jamie and I did some doubles very early on, and we're like, okay, it feels good. We can build on this through the season. And then that summer we went to, Hollenbecker and Duisburg, which is, decent like international racing against other like N23s, development crews who don't go to World Cups, but good enough to race for the country. Then that was a big step on, I think.
So is that part of like a ship's crew?
I think it was, yeah. I think
what year was that? Sorry,
2023. So the same year I did home country in the single. I did the entire season of double with Jamie, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we raced. Well, I found really enjoyed it was like, so you're not just doing one race by yourself, and all of a sudden it was like the same person for like 3 or 4 months, right? So every day is the same session, same people, the same tech you build up when you left off. Like I quite enjoy that part of like not going back to right at the start and go, okay, let's start over again. So I think the first race we did was Bucks Head in Newcastle in the most biblical conditions ever.
Yeah, that's Newcastle for you.
Yeah. I've been there like 3 times and they've been horrible all 3 times.
Yeah.
But then, okay, that quad went really well. Now let's go into like doubles. So we did Bucks Regatta, then Met and Marlow, then Hollenbecker, then Duisburg. We did Henley. We didn't win a round that year. It was fine. We had a long season, but it was good. But I really enjoyed that kind of like, okay, we're serious now. This is what, we go to a race, like we want this result and we're not going to take anything. It's not like, oh, see how well you can do. It's like, okay, now you need to perform back to back. I think, like I said, I think Duisburg was the first taste I had of like, okay, there's another level again. Like we did Met and Marlow and they were good. They're really good domestic racing, I think, for crews, like especially like university crews who want to, race clubs and stuff like that. Because only Leander go to Met and Marlow sometimes. Yes. And then we went to Duisburg, and I remember, so Dan was our coach that year as well, and Tom Selby as well, the two of them. And I remember Dan was saying, it's going to be it's intense from the first stroke, because I don't, if what you think, but like in sculling, in like Met and Marlow, the first 250 is really hard, and then everyone like settles, and then you go again at the end.
Yeah.
Where Duisburg, I know I was warned, but I did not expect it to be that insanely intense. So you're off the start, and just no one slows down. Like literally, people like speed up after 250. So that first race, you have to water, like, okay, now I've got a better idea of how we should race the next race. And then the next day we go back and we won on the Sunday, which is really cool. And we're like, wow, this is awesome. And then we go back home and then, okay, we're going to Hollenbecker. Well, we know it's intense. Let's rise up to it and, race. We raced some N23, some Belgium. They were, decent scholars, especially for me. And, for me specifically, like done nothing major ever in rowing. And for Jamie as well to have some first like international experience. So we went to Hollenbecker and be more familiar with how intense it should be and how kind of like you can be more prepared, not just go to the start of the race and go, oh shit, we're so far down, although we're going as fast as I think we could. And we got to Henley, we raced John Collins and Aidan Thompson, and we were never going to beat John in the Henley race. I think John told me.
Did you know, were you kind of following who was in the team at that time?
So I think by that point, I knew who Aidan was because he was on start as well.
Yeah.
We did home internationals in 2022 together. So I know Aidan quite well by this point. And John, like, I know of him, obviously. I don't think he had any clue who I was, but I definitely knew who the guys in the team were because Tokyo, and when I learned to row, what I did was look through every race on YouTube for men's sculling, just because I was like, if I could look like that, I should be doing something right. So every race on YouTube, that's a rowing World Cup, World Champs, I've watched it because the more you watch, you can be like, okay, I understand it better.
Just the GB ones or international ones as well?
No, anyway.
All right, so there's a race which we'll probably get onto later, but there was like a semi-final of World Cup 19, I think World Cup 2.
Yeah.
And there was like 2 German scullers there. And there was the international selection for there. There was Drysdale, Rob. That was one of the most epic races. Was that when Robbie won at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like one of...
It was Zeidler, Robbie Manson, but
Tim Natska.
Tim Olnaska was there. I think it was Kettleball, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a stacked lineup for finally. I've seen it. Yeah, it's
so good.
But that's what I mean. I was watching all these races being like, I need to row like them, right? I need to... Even if I was looking at like Mahe Drysdale, I was like, right, I need to row exactly like that. Here, just straight to the best club. But then I think it does help. So I'd watch all of John's like racing, and I knew, obviously I know, he was in the team for like 10 years. I know who John Collins is. And I remember he told me at the end, he was like, don't worry about it, mate. He said like the first time he raced Henley, I was like 5 years old. And the first time he won, I was like 8. I was like, well, yeah, I can't compete. We can't compete with that. Like, he was obviously always going to win that race. And I think Jamie and I were not cocky going in, but we were a bit confident. Like, yeah, we could. And we were excited to finally get to race the senior GB double at the time. And I was just like, let's just see. And we did it. We had a terrible, just like, I was so shocked with the Henley headwind, because that was my first ever Henley. I was just like, this is a horrible, horrible race.
When it kicks up, yeah.
Oh, when it picks up. I remember looking down the course, it was just like a black cloud of like a wave that's coming down at us. And I just remember looking across, and John and Ian was just like, yeah, it's fine. I was like, we are screwed.
Man, when you train there, like sometimes
it was.
in the autumn can be just brutal.
So that year was a real massive step from being a novice or like learning, getting into the rowing to now knowing exactly where I need to be and where to go. And it was definitely one of the most fun years I've had in sports. Yeah, sure. I really, really enjoyed like racing a lot. And it was a lot. We did I think we did Marlow, Henley and Hollenbecker all back to back. Say 3 weekends on the trot.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it because, you're traveling, international's always fun. So the year after that, I had a choice of either stay in Bath with Dan and kind of see what we can do, or move down to be coached by Helen Brown at the Performance Sculling Academy.
Who was that, Windsor?
With
yeah.
So this was GB kind of consolidated they shut down a few of like the separate start programs.
Yeah.
And then kind of opened up this way. You can explain like for example, the more central system.
The people from Twickenham, for example, went to Windsor, etc.
We had a girl from Brooks, Jenny Perry, came down from Glasgow, Edinburgh. I can't remember. I think Edinburgh. Jamie and I from Bath. So it was basically start people who need somewhere now a step above.
Yeah.
See where we can go. The only not the bad thing. The only unfortunate thing was that I think where we were based wasn't brilliant because it flooded very quick. I don't know how familiar you are with the Windsor stretch, but it floods very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. So I think from like October to April, we weren't there at all because it was so flooded.
Fuck.
Which is, that's like half a year gone where you're not where you're based.
That's what we had in Poland, but because the water was frozen, not because it was flooded. Yeah. So that's like a taste of what it's like to erg so much.
Yeah. You're erging and you're going to Dorney, which Dorney's great as a lake, but you can't sit down and enjoy your breakfast in this, and you kind of always somewhere different. Yeah, there's a lot of rigging, de-rigging, and your boats live on the trailer for a long time.
Yeah.
But that was still a good year of kind of like, because Helen did a really good program of like, senior athletes, because she obviously had Callum and Aidan go from Twickenham and they were in the team. So her program was way more brutal than the one we had at Bath, like insanely more brutal, which is good because it's obviously what we needed as a step up. I remember the first 20K in the single I did, I was like, when is this session going to end? I was like, this is ridiculous. See how long we have to sit in this single? Like my hamstrings are going to lie, my bum hurts and my and it was a fine day. But so then that year was, because obviously the injury as well and everything, it was a bit of a up and down year. The first 6 months was a real roller coaster of like, okay, now you're fit. Okay, now you can't be at Windsor because it's flooded. Let's go away the camp. And now you're injured. Okay, go back to Caversham and see just go see the physios. I go to Bisham to train for rehab. And you're back at Windsor, be at Dorney. And it was just unfortunate because Windsor Boathouse they're eating Excelsior Boathouse is perfect for us. It's a small group. There's Erg's kitchen, gym was there. We could do everything there. But because it flooded, it was really hard to justify going there even though there's no water. Do you know what I mean? And then halfway through that, when I finally got over a knee injury, it was around May that we did some stuff for Poznan, the Project LA group.
Yeah.
It's like the development GB crew. So I knew Shet from the year before because of Duisberg and Hollenbecker. And a lot of younger guys who'd been really close to the top for a long time and just waiting for their moment to go on to the next level. My first race back, of that season was Poznan, which is also a level up again from the year before. So each year, as I'm saying, is like, you're understanding more, you're getting more experience, you get more intense. It's just step. So we go as the GB development team, and that was
There's World Cup 3.
Yeah, World Cup in Poznan. That was such a fun project. I loved that project. It was a couple of weeks. I was with Stephen Hughes and me, and then another level, Tobias Schroeder and Rory Harris.
Pretty stacked then.
Well,
I used to race against Rory back in the day.
Yeah. Well, Rory's been around, so long. He's such a good sculler. So when him and Tobias and together, me and Stephen, and we were just training every day in Caversham, it was so much fun because you push each other on.
Yeah.
But you also just you get along really well with these lads. So there's no kind of bad blood. Like you can, like you said, you the breakfast, everything's fun. As soon as you're in a boat, okay, you're in your own boat, but it's not like, oh, okay, we can't be friends anymore. It was always we're working off each other. And the coach we had was Dan Harris, just my coach from Bath. So it was just, I think we had 3 weeks before going out, and it was honestly it was awesome.
How long?
I've said this before, that's a good project, 3 weeks.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's
awesome,
because that's like the Goldilocks.
You can feel peak in that time. It doesn't go well. Once you find your speed.
Like if you're starting with decent rows, you're going to see improvement quickly.
Yeah. Well,
and then when the project goes longer than that, then you get some kind of flat spots and stuff.
Yeah.
I love a 3 week.
Yeah.
It was also, and the weather was great, and
of course, Poland.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really humid, hot in Poland as well.
Yeah.
It was nice. But just before we went out, Stephen and I, like you said, you're decent guys, you can step quickly. So we had a couple of days and it wasn't going great. And then we kind of got over that hump. And then it was really quickly this is feeling better and better every day. And like you said, you peak right at the right moments. So we did our first race at Poznan. Not a great race. So we really just didn't go to plan. I think it was just both of us have never been in that experience before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you walk around Sinkovic brothers and Damir Martin and, Robbie Martin. It's just people you watch row and, they're basically celebrities in rowing. They're just dapping the members of the team up. And you're just okay, that's cool. That's normal. Let's go race, I guess, and we were in the heat with the Tokyo champions, the French double. And I was just whoa, these guys are scary. I was quite nervous.
Olympic champions, literally the people.
I was wow, this is really just another level of, okay, it's serious now. And I was, you're trying to be as professional as you can, but if you've not experienced it before, there's no way you can just instantly be cool with it,
Yeah.
I was very much looking across, I was oh wow, they're good. It's just watching warm up, I was oh shit, they're good. Steve, with the look at them, they're really good, mate. And Steve was yeah, well, let's just, they're so good. So we do the heat and it doesn't go really well. It's fine. Not a single call we did worked. I don't think both of us were just not really, maybe not in the right mindset. So we had the rep in the afternoon and that was about
same day.
Yeah. So we had
the
heat and the reps on the Friday, AB semi on the Saturday, and then the final on the Sunday. And the rep went so much better than the heats. It just you rode, you just felt okay, we did a good race. And the AB semi was probably the craziest race I've been in, because there's basically 4 boats going for 3 spots, but we were racing the other GB double and we beat them by it was less than a second. It was just because we were in lane 6 and they were in lane 1, and you're just looking across, because obviously everyone knows that the top 3 go into the A final, and that was an immense race. And then we were okay, we're more confident again. because, you know, you now got 2 races on your belt and you feel like you actually belong there. And you feel like, okay, I actually know what's, you know, how the Boeing system, something small like the Boeing system where, you know, they have to check and give your, I don't know what, like, not name.
Accreditation.
Yeah, something, yeah. Just like, where's your accreditation? You go down to boating, like, oh, I haven't got it because you're not used to it. And you run back to your coach and like, oh, your boat time is just little things that unless you've done it, you don't really think about it.
That's the whole point of doing your stuff early, and that's why you guys are there.
Yeah. Because I remember we took our shoes off. Usually you take your shoes off and you leave them there. This girl, like a volunteer, took them. I was like, hey, I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, you're taking my shoes? And no, we're taking this to a box, supporting that landing stage. When you come in, I was like, oh, sorry.
Oh, she's licking my shoes.
So, whoa.
So we've all lost shoes on the bank somewhere.
Yeah, so then we do the AB semi, and we luckily make the A final by like it could have been, you know, any one of the 2 GB doubles.
It's insane though. First in senior competition at A final, right?
We weren't really. I don't know if we were.
Oh, it gets better.
We weren't really aiming for like anything. It was just like you said, you go out to experience it. So that chat that night with Dan was just like, what's your plan for tomorrow? And I was just like, I don't know. Like, what do you think? And it's like, well, it's nothing to lose. It's all to gain. Like, there's absolutely nothing to lose. Worst things worst, you come 6, fine. First World Cup, you know, cool, good for you. We go home and you know what it was like. Best case scenario, you beat 1 crew or 2 or whatever. I was like, okay, yeah, it's fine. It's no big deal, you know. That night, I was in bed. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be on TV. It's crazy. And, you know, telling everyone at home what times to watch it. I was like, actually, I don't know if I want to because all these people are saying if I don't for something up. I'm like, I don't know if I want you to watch it.
The nerves.
The nerves.
Comes and go. You get the waves.
And wait, because, you know, my parents came down, came out to Poznan. And they're the most supportive parents, but they're quite intense. My mum was like, so who are you racing? Like, you know, how are you feeling? Are you going to win? I'm like, whoa. Like, whoa. Yeah, I mean, I'll try my best. But was like, yeah, and she was in the same hotel as us. And my mum, bless her, like, genuinely number 1 supporter, my mum and dad, right? Forever. But they're a bit like, who's that then? Who's that? Do you know that guy? Who's that German guy? Like, I don't know. I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
We've never met before. Oh, he's big, isn't he? Yeah, he's pretty big. Oh, so what's his name? I don't know. So I don't, just leave me alone. And she calls me, was like, and the funniest, oh God, sorry. This just reminded me. It was an hour before our race. So it's like 20 minutes before boating. It's a serious nerve-wracking time. Like, you know, you've been throwing up in the morning, like I did every morning of Poznan, which I have been doing for like the last 2 years for some reason. But every race day I throw up, which is part of my routine now for some reason. But because Stephen never saw that before, and he was like, should I panic? Because like, nah, it's fine. Let me get a minute and I'll be fine. So we're on the bike warming up and he's like really going to get in focus. And then my mum calls me, and she's like, have you had food at the hotel yet? I was like, what? Yeah, your dad and I are thinking of booking tonight. What's it like? I was like, do you know what? I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, well, is it nice? I was like, I'm like 20 minutes away from boating. Maybe call me later. I was like, okay, fine, yeah. Goes down. 2 minutes later, my younger sister calls me. Now, my younger sister and I are very close, but she does not care at all that I row. It couldn't care less. Like, there's no interest. Well, she's just your sibling, right? Like, you could literally be, I don't know, the Prime Minister of the UK, but your younger sister's always your younger sister first. And she calls me, she's like, hi, girl, you're right. I'm feeling ill, but should I still go to the gym? I was like, what? I was literally like, what? What? She's like, yeah, what should I do? I was like, I don't even think you know where I am right now. I was like, yeah, I know you're in Poland. I was like, right, I went F off, put the phone down. She texted me saying, you're such a, you know, this and that. But I was like, this girl does have no clue that I'm like, absolutely shit. At least my mum was like, knew I was there. My sister couldn't care less. So that made me like, it's like, God, that was so weird. I would like go to boating. And now you got like, you know, like the cameras, the TV crews on the Sunday, the launches, they like follow you and while you're boating, there's a camera this close to you and you've got to pretend you can't see it. But honestly, I was looking dead in the camera, dead in the eyes, you know, they're looking around and trying to like stretch and be cool. But I slipped and it dropped the boat and it was, you know, all these little things I'm not used to. And then we get to the start line, I'm looking across, I'm just like, oh God, this is going to really hurt. Like we had the German double, I think they came like 7th at Paris. Ireland, I came 3rd you had France, the Tokyo champions, you had Robbie Manson and Jordan Parry that were 5th at Paris. And then some Polish doubles, a Polish double which ended up winning World Under 23 a couple of months later. But we obviously at the time, we just knew them as like the Under 23 crew. And looking across, I was like, wow, it's going to be a really tough race, you know. And
Yeah.
I remember Dan was saying, just, you know, stick to what you know and all that stuff. That went out the window. I think 500 meters in, I was like, I'm hurting a lot. It's just like, you're hitting the wall super early and you just got to hold on. But the thing with these guys, you know, they go off hard and then they find a gear. So like, you know, at like 500 meters to go, Jordan Parry and Robbie Manson found the most insane sprint and came from like 6th to 3rd. I was like, how? I don't know how you can make such a change of speed. And like Ireland pushed, it was a mental race. And we're coming back to the line and I think we were like 5th and France is like directly across from us. And we've just gone through the poles. And I remember Stephen was just shouting in my ear. It's like, yes, 4th. I was like, oh my God, it's mental. So we like, go as hard as you can. And then we've just like half a barrel ahead of France. We're like parallel. And then he's like, 3rd. She's like, New Zealand's only half a ball. It's like, oh my God, this is mental. We finished coming 4th, which I was like, oh, this is like way better than I can imagine us ever doing that at World Cup, even as a development crew or wherever.
Yeah.
Against, you know, maybe some doubles were missing. I was like, I didn't expect to be in the A final. And I remember I was looking at like the board. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, though, isn't it? But then how much the race hurt was, honestly, not that we blew, but I've never been in so much pain do you know when your jaw hurts when you've rode or like done some sport? My like hair really hurt.
Yeah, because you're tensing, right?
Yeah. So like I couldn't really like speak or clench my teeth or anything for so long afterwards. And then like coming back from that was just another kind of like, okay, this is a standard again. Like you're not quite there yet. You've got to go, you know, another level, you know, next year, which is now. You got to start to race like that double.
That's your motivation, right? You beat the French.
We did, yeah. We hit them,
So they beat the French.
Yeah.
hit them right at the line, and I think Martin.
What does that feel like?
Oh, it was all.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Beating the Olympic champions, like 4 years, it's like 3 years after the starting on the start for
It
it.
was
It's mad.
it was quite insane. I think also it was just like we watched as soon as you go back to the hotel, instantly watched them.
Oh, you have to.
Like instantly, you know. Dan was like, "Make sure you recover." Like, nah, I'm watching this right now.
Yeah.
And Stephen Ryan, right at the end, Martin Cross is like, it's like, oh, it's Ireland, Germany, and New Zealand. And he goes, oh, the Brits have gone through the bet. It says something like, the Brits beat the Olympic champions. I was just like, oh,
That sounds good.
it's like, oh, that is really cool. And like, you know, but then again, like I said, that was cool. But then Ireland and New Zealand, they were a step above again. So now we come home and okay, in 12 months' time, we want to be better than the doubles. You know, we want to race like they did, which is again it's all experience, and like I understand why they send us to World Cup before they get us into Caversham, because I did learn so much from that World Cup of just how to take each day, how to like prepare the kits, you know, like the credentials, knowing where everything is.
Yeah.
You know, you know, you sign in or like in the warm-up tents, where exactly are they? So you're more firm of what your plan is and not just going, okay, I'm going to get there, I'm going to figure it out later. And like you said, someone takes your shoes away, you don't panic, you just, you know, understand that it's part of the whole, you know, thing. And it was really, really cool. It was really cool. But I didn't have enough time to I didn't have the time to really be like, oh, that was an awesome machine. Because 2 weeks later was Henley. So we get back and I'm in a different boat with another person.
Yeah.
So instantly, right, you know, that was fun, but we got another, you know, race to do.
It's
And
done now, yeah.
and that was another really fun project I did. I know I'd rode with Jamie now for around 3 years, but that Henley project just after Poznan it was like 3 weeks again, which is that perfect kind of like you can build up to really, you know, without like letting things drop. And like I said, the weather was unbelievable, you know, and it's like makes it so much easier to train where you just go out just an all in one. It's like water's nice. I know Henley wasn't exactly perfect, but that, you know, that was a really good kind of like couple of weeks.
So you've obviously, you said you've rode with Jamie for quite a bit of time. You then jump into the boat, preparing, etc. Like sometimes in a double, you can be so close by with the other person. It's probably just as intense as the pair, except, well, Tom would maybe disagree. I've not rode pairs that much, but like on the personal level, like, you must get on well with on the personal level, like you must get on well with like your doubles partner. So like not kill each other if you've rode together for like 3 years. Like how do you then is also still like, I'm just asking for like a tip for like the audience. Like, how do you give your like partners in the doubles like feedback and things like how do you maintain that positive atmosphere? Because obviously, a lot of people who could probably be friends outside of the boat, they get in the boat and then they just instantly want to murder each other. You know, like how do you not do that?
Well, so I'm very lucky. I've never had, like you said, been in a crew and been like, I absolutely hate this other person. I've never had that before. I've always really gone on like outside of the boat with the person I'm rowing with Jamie the most, because obviously that's the guy I've rowed the most with. And I think, so we're kind of like a bit of a difference. So we will jokingly just blame the other person, like, but we're not like obviously we know we're not serious, but we'll just be like, yeah, your shit, mate, it's all your fault, you know, stuff like that. And then we'll be like, okay, actually talk about it. So we finish a piece. So the first thing is like, yeah, you're welcome. I just carried you down. You know, we'll be like, yeah, don't worry about the watts, mate. I'll make them. Or yeah, just something like that.
It's good banter. Yeah.
Take the sting out of it, yeah.
And then, you know, once you've actually the adrenaline's, then you can, okay, what did you think? I think as advice or a tip, I'd be like, I don't think it's useful just being like, right, this is what you were doing wrong. I tend to be like, okay, we should do this better. Even if I'm personally think, I might be doing it enough. And, you know, everyone has a different opinion, especially like with two people. It can always be like, okay, maybe you can use a bit more hips, or maybe I can do with legs quick, or whatever it is. But there's no point just going, this is what you're doing, and this is what you should be. It's always like, if we can do this as a crew, and you never really blame the other person. Because I think once you start being like, oh, it's your fault, and then I don't think a crew will ever. I personally don't think there's any point ever doing that.
That makes sense. I guess it's both there for just one reason, to improve. So you don't actually need to like feed the fire.
There's no need.
Yeah. Two things on Morgan's point of like when they ran the 8, you weren't allowed to bring a problem without bringing what you thought would be a solution.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really good. Yeah. And another one I saw was miscommunication often happens when you're telling each other what the other person's did wrong.
Yeah.
So actually what you should do is tell the other person what they did right.
Yeah.
And think about what you did wrong. Like, yeah, it's like difference of perspective and stuff. But also I think the point on like, not getting on with people, I don't think you have to be like best friends. And I think that's because you can like join mutually on like the rowing side of it. Like, I've got a lot of mates who like, if we didn't row, like I never, like Webby is like one of my best mates, but like completely different worlds, different sports, everything else, but like it didn't matter because you bond on like the rowing thing.
So there was all those where you spend so long with him, you like,
you wind each other up for sure, or you learn.
Well, there's obviously stages where you will wind each other up. Like,
man, when I did 3 or 4 training camps with Fred Gill, who bless him was diabetic, type 1 diabetic, so he took insulin, but it meant like he had to eat more constantly for his sugar levels when on training camp. So like every night at like 2 a.m, I get woken up and he's like doing his best to be quiet, but I can hear him. He will go into the toilet. So the door's shut, the toilet, and you can just hear him going like,
yeah.
That's like eating away. And I was just like, oh, good.
I agree that you don't have to get a lot. Honestly, you can't just magically click with everyone. But I do think there's something to be said about, I do think a crew does work better when you do just get along. It doesn't have to be best mates, but
just don't mind each other. Yeah.
I also think though, if you are able to like I was saying, you know, have a bit of a joke, of a banter, like Stephen and I were very good at not being too serious, like ever, you know, like Stephen and I would, you know, often like, do you know, like in the boat just quoting like films or like vids, and it's like absolute, it's brain rot chat. Like it's not like funny but it just keeps you like, oh, that's funny, like okay, he's not dead serious, because like, when you do long sessions, it can go quiet sometimes because there's not much to say. You're just doing the same thing over and over, and then at the end of the lane, if you just instantly like, oh, okay, that was shit, or like, oh, that wasn't very good. Well, there's no point, you know.
No.
And like I agree with what you were saying about, there's no point saying something wasn't good without having a reason or way to be like, okay, maybe we should do this, because you know what's the point of finishing a race just going, oh, that was terrible.
Yeah. So we used to have this coach called Lavinia. And yeah, talking about brain rot chat, like Tom came up with like a little jingle. Then everyone like became like the anthem of the anthem.
I don't know if this is that funny, but like the story of One Direction. Maybe stuff.
Oh, you can tell the story of One Direction, but I just mean like, on the point of that, like, you just occasionally just row down on the lake and then you just hear like the other crew shouting like, "Stupid." And you're like, okay, but you know,
it's a good laugh.
Brain rot, but it works.
Yeah, honestly, Cavish There's a new group of lads. We're there right now. The brain rot choice. It's out of this one, but it just keeps you like keeps it light, you know. Especially like doing like a matrix or this week getting into trials that's come up in a couple of days. It's stressful. Like it's not a fun. You know, every piece. Everyone's like, oh god, well, what does that? You know what I mean? You know, you got to somehow be friends with these people, and you know, in a couple of days you have to race them, and you're also going to be competing against them in matrix in a week. So it's like if you can just make it as lighthearted when you're not on the water, but honestly. It's just like reels or memes. It's just that's all. You just like. I don't. Honestly, it's not very funny chat.
No, as a normal doing about law, yeah, it's stuff. It wouldn't make any sense to anyone else.
It wouldn't
but
be
like
funny at all.
there was times like we would get quotes from movies, and there was one where we were watching this movie, Sexy Beast, and we're all there's like a very credible movie, loads of crap stuff in it.
Yeah.
But there's like we're on training camp. There's like a bunch of guys who've never seen the film who now could pretty much like quote you the entire plot of this movie because they've just heard everyone else chatting it so much.
Shanice, you move. Your mouth is moving a lot.
Yeah, stupid meme. Like memes now, it's even more. Like now it's everywhere, like TikToks and all that. But even like back in the day, we would just obsess over stupid shit.
Like, so Steve and I had this one. We for some reason we find it so funny, but it's not that funny. It's seen Night at the Museum too, where the kid's like, "Don't cross this line," you know, like I will kill you if you keep talking. Like, that's not very funny. It's just a part of the script. But obviously, every time we said it, it was honestly like the funniest thing. You think we're genuinely the funniest people in the whole world. But we just said that over and over and over.
Yeah.
And like, you've been in bed by yourself, and like, he's in the bed next to you, you're down in the hotel. And it's like you're on your phone, and he just says something out loud, like, oh, that was funny. But in any other sense of like in the street or in work or whatever, you'd be like,
no one has to get it.
Like, what is this guy on about?
Yeah.
Such a weirdo.
Yeah, when we were coaching together, like one of the kids would say something like hilarious or like some weird way that they said it or whatever. So we start like fucking about by like saying it to each other. And then you like nearly catch yourself saying it in front of the kid. You think, oh god, I'm going to get in trouble here.
Yeah.
Glad you find it funny.
Yeah. It's just something stupid like that.
But I unironically started saying stuff now that it just come from like memes, and you know, you say it to like your parents just like, what is wrong? But like, it's honestly the way I generally think, especially like in Sierra Nevada, because we were just there a couple of weeks ago for 16 days. And have you been?
No, I'm not British.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I think I've done it 5 times.
It's not
fucking horrible.
It's not a great place.
Yeah.
16 days. But you train really hard, and it really does, you know, make you.
You find some stuff out about yourself. Yeah.
But the brain rot trap by day 4 was just like
off the chart.
Just like
when you're in that close environment,
moaning, it doesn't even mean anything. You know, there's no words. You just got to keep yourself something funny. And like we play this game all the time. Do you know Among Us? I know it's doing
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Do you know it?
Yeah.
We play it every single day because everyone gets in on it. It's quite like nothing to do with it means nothing if you win or lose. Like, it absolutely means nothing.
Yeah.
But it's like just keeps you busy, right? And keeps you like thinking, especially doing trial. You don't want to just go into a cafeteria, have food, and then just think about the next session. Like, I've got 20k in the erg, and I've just blown on the one this morning.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be, I'm cooked. But we used to, we play Among Us in Sierra Nevada. And a couple of nights, you're just like, oh wow, someone's snapping. Because people are just losing their patience a bit. But it was still just like, without that, you just go to your room. You've been there.
Yeah.
The bed's not that comfy. You just sit silently by yourself on your phone for hours, and that can't be good for anyone. So we for every night, it's like 10 or 15 of us be in we had a site like a lounge, and you play. Because everyone goes to bed really early. It's by 9:30, everyone's in bed, right? Because
Yeah.
But you get dinner. Okay, a bit of Among Us, it's a bit of laugh, but it does have the heart rate going. So sometimes you go to bed, you're just like, oh, I'm sweating now. That was a crazy case.
Did you ever get Shep to play with you?
No. Shep didn't come out with us this time because the Shep's camp is like for the development people. So
right.
The last 2 years we went out with Shep. But I think Shep would. It means that people getting along and talking to each other and not just. Yeah. I don't think it's anything. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Shep would be against it, but like.
No. I rate that. Like I was literally about to say that I dig that a lot. Like that kind of you got to find a way to something that like unites the group to like carry you through the dark times. And like obviously because we're quite similar in age. I'm like 2 years older, so brain rot is how we communicate. And I can't explain the last 15 years of meme history to you in order for you to get this one particular. So it's like Tom struggles with that sometimes because he's like different generation now. He's like, I don't find that funny. And then I just say like, oh, it's Gen Z. He's like, oh, it's funny because it's not funny.
Yeah, I get why you find it funny, but it's the you've got to have been there humor. I understand that bit of it, but yeah, same stuff. Yeah, you've got to get away from it. Like you live, breathe, and eat it. And I was talking about this the other day on Jack's podcast, but like, yeah, for us, it would just be like
film quotes are big.
Film quotes, but also like TV series. So like you come and say, Nick, someone's bought like the entire collection of Entourage, and you're like, right, we've got to complete it. So, like, you're, like, running back from the session to get in the room, like, get it on, go. We've got 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, when I was in the summer in the Viz,
because you can't do anything.
No, there's not much you can do.
But you're knackered. You can't, you have to chill.
You know, so Rory Harris bought his PlayStation out to Viz. And I was sharing a room with him. We're both quite in, like, we love watching films. Every couple of days, I've watched this film today. And so now, every night it was like, let's watch a different film. So I think Rory watches 15 minutes and goes to bed. So it took us like 5 days to watch The Martian.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy long time. Well, you watch those films and like, you're just thinking, oh, what a great film, man. You can just forget that you're going to the session. Or if the session went bad, you can just forget the session because it's gone now. Yeah, there's nothing you can do to make that session better. That's just been.
Yeah.
So we get back and, you got an hour and a half before the next session, just whack Batman Dark Knight on, which is an unbelievable film. And you just switch off. You can kind of watch it, kind of go on your phone, you kind of like sleep a bit. But like, if you just sat in a room looking at videos or telemetry, right? Is video analysis, and you just go insane, I think it's...
Some people do it. I do try and tell people, like, you can't, like, if I'm going to send you some of your footage from this morning, like, don't just spend the next 8 hours slow-mowing one stroke and being like, that was shit. Like, you're only looking at one stroke.
Yeah. I think it's important, video, don't get me wrong. I think I think it's important to not always be in that, like, what can we do better? Like, at some point, you got to just relax and be like, have fun, like, play Among Us for a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like watch a film, or even like in Caversham, they've got these nap pods.
Yeah.
I don't know if if they have always been.
Seriously.
It's the most amazing room. It's amazing. It's a dark room of like massive bunk beds, and they're so comfy. And it's only about like 2 hours for your next session. And you kind of like, the croon gets a bit loud, and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to go lie down. You instantly just, grab a pillow, go lie down, and you can fall asleep quick because it's, I don't know if it's soundproof, but you can't hear anything from outside. Like, and everyone else is really respectful in there. Everyone's like,
that's the first I'm hearing about this.
It's awesome. It's honestly one of the coolest things I've seen in like a national centre.
Yeah.
Have all these beds. So, and if you want to just lie down and listen to music, if the earphones, that's also fine. Like, but everyone knows you don't actually out loud play music or watch a video, or you don't chat with anyone. It's there because you do want just like that alone time. So often I don't sleep that well at night sometimes. So if I've had like a shit night's sleep and I've just done a super long water session and we've got another water session, or your body's like, and you might, you get like a headache because you haven't slept enough. And I'm like, okay, let's have a 20, 30-minute nap and then wake yourself up, have a coffee, that you're ready to go. It just really lets you like come down from the last session to basically start again. Honestly, I didn't use it that much before Christmas because I kind of was like, I'll just sleep when I'm home. But now, after seeing Nevada, I've realized how useful it is to have naps a lot and like lie down properly, really switch off. And I've been using it not every day, but most days I go lie down and just, maybe not go to sleep yourself, but your legs are up, close your eyes, it's quiet. The music, and it's awesome, but I think you have to have it because you just go crazy. It's intense when everyone else, everyone's looking at video. Everyone's like, oh, how's your pieces? And everyone's like, oh, I was way quicker. You think to yourself, I'm like 5 space off there.
Yeah.
It's got like, doesn't matter. It's gone now. I
like that. That's a very mature like thinking when it comes to like approaching training. Like this whole time, I know we're going to go back onto the story of Henley and everything, but like just like, obviously you were a late comer into the sport in terms of when you started rowing at like which age, which I think Pete Reed's done something similar. He also like learned how to row at university and then obviously.
I think Helen Glover did as well, right?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
I think so.
If you've taken another sport to a high level, though, that obviously like there's so much that you can take with you.
But I was just wondering when Dan plucked you out from that gym doing a half hour and then you started training seriously, like you said, no half measures, like you said, I'm going to be a rower now, etc. Like how soon did you think you were going to be obviously rowing for GB? Was that ever in doubt? Did you ever think like, oh, if I get to GB, or were you like, no, I'm going to be GB? And like I'm just trying to like find out what your mindset was like during that time.
So it's just going to sound like,
no, let it rip.
For like the first couple of days with Dan was just like, right, this is serious. I genuinely think I can make it. I was like, I can, but obviously got to put all the work in. And like, that year when I was at the boarding school, it's going to suck, but you just have to do it. But I think quite early on, you asked me earlier, what made you go back to rowing? Was because I know knowing I can do it, but I have to jump through a lot of hoops and I have to really, like it's not going to come to you because the top is like, you can get to a really good university level, then like a good like national level, then a good domestic, it's like Duisburg, Hollenbecker level, international. Like the higher you go, the less kind of opportunities and like the less margin for errors in a way that is like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like it's more serious each time. And every time I do sports, I'm not gonna, like I said, just be like, oh, I'll do it for the fun. I don't really see the point of that. I'd be fat if it wasn't for competitive sports. So I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. And I didn't think it was inevitable. I never thought like, yeah, I'll definitely be GB. Like that wasn't a thought, but I was like, yeah, I really can. I was comparing like erg scores and so like where I was rowing and stuff and just be like, yeah, I can do it. But I really just keep like pushing, like experience, like learning as much as you can. Because like even now, I've been rowing a few years now, but I'm still sometimes looking through telemetry, for example. I have no idea. I generally, there's so many graphs. I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at. And I'm blatantly asked like coaches, like, could you just they'll show me like, okay, that line was good. I was like, could you just tell me what that is? Like, what is that line? Like, why is it up, down, and flat? That makes no sense. You know what I mean? But little things like that, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But I think when we went to like Duisburg and Hollenbecker, I was like, this is sick. This is I can't do this. Like I can't. I just have to really again. Like I said, step.
I guess your swimming made you confident in your ability, but you still knew there was a lot of work that was going to be there. But you knew that you can get there.
Like I'm a very confident person in kind of like backing yourself. Like I'm also just confident. I've always been confident in general. Like I think my parents have helped me with that. Like my parents both very like confident people, and like seeing them makes you confident, right? Do you know what I mean? Like if you build up around people who are always really outgoing, and so then. It made me confident, but also I was confident, like I can work on it. I can like just, go through the motions of falling in every day. I used to fall in like 4 times or 5 times. I don't know why. I used to fall in all the time. And I was like, right.
Confidence.
Yeah. Well, I think like once you've had that first fall, well, you're wet now. Like you can either go in and waste the 45-minute drive I've just done to get here, or you just get back in the boat. It's cold. It sucks. You're going to fall in again. Take a couple of strokes. Like, hey, swim back to landing stage, get back in again, and then at some point it just clicks and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not falling in quite as much. And then you're falling in like one session and you go, oh, I haven't fallen in at all today. And like, you just build confidence. I have one funny story about falling actually. Like I said, I was training with Becky Wild.
Yeah.
In Bath. And I was at the point where like I could do sessions without falling in at all. And I was like getting really cocky with it. Only because Becky was there. I was like, oh, Becky, look at this. So I went to do a roller. And I was like, oh, I lied. I was like, cool. And she didn't see it. So I was like, Becky, watch this, all right? And then she's watching. And as I go forward, she says she didn't do it, but I swear I heard her shout something. So I went, huh? Like that, as she's shouting. And I literally fell in. Like, and I can hear her laughing at me. I know Dan's filming, but I was stuck. My feet were stuck in the boat. So I literally really couldn't breathe. And Becky, I could just hear in the background. And as soon as I get up, Dan's got his phone, like, in the launch. And he's just got Becky in the background laughing at me in the water. I was just like, I'm still not that confident, but I was confident enough to be like, yeah, I'm gonna try it. I still suck at roll-ups, but I was like, yeah, who cares? Let me just, be confident and cool, and fell in. I was like, okay, well, that sucks, but it doesn't matter. But I think I had to just be like, at some point, who cares if you fall in? Like, people would always be like, oh yeah, you fall in, that was hilarious. And like, people laugh at you all the time. It doesn't matter. Like,
if you want to get better at something, you have to risk.
Yeah, you can't do a water's foot and never expect to get wet, right?
people were telling me this. This is the thing. People were like, yeah, I've never fallen in. I was like, that's got to be a lie. Like, you might have learned when you were 12, but you must have fallen in, unless you learn did they learn in tubs or?
Maybe they learn in tubs or like a lot of schools or like colleges, like you just start an 8.
Yeah, right.
And there is no sculling.
It's weird. I've never fallen in. I was like,
yeah. So I don't know if I've fallen in much, but I've fallen a few times. But I did fall in 2013. They did like a world class, one of like the world class start like races was up in Nottingham. And there was like 4 of us that were in the senior team that year, but hadn't gone. Hadn't gone to Worlds. We were doing like a different program over the summer with the head physiologist, like me, John Collins, Mason Durant, Nick Middleton. Maybe.
Yeah.
So we went up to this trial. we did like 2K up, 2K down. I think I'd done quite well, but like I took my feet out when I was waiting for the landing stage. And I was just like sat with my feet out, and I forgot I'd taken my feet out, still waiting for the landing stage. So like, I'll lie down and wait.
Oh yeah.
With your feet out, I just fall straight over and like just go in.
Oh god.
And I'm like everyone else there is like first kind of like invitational event GB, and like Steve Gunn came up to me afterwards like, oh, there's Steve Gunn.
Is the old head?
Yeah, yeah, used to be.
He coached the pair that won in Barcelona.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he also did that. Yeah. But yeah, he came up to me and was like, "Oh, thanks, Tom, for falling in. Quite a lot of really nervous athletes here, and they've just seen you fall in, and now they're all feeling much better." Like, oh, glad I could help, Steve.
Cheers. I fell in on the first day of Caversham,
but I couldn't even. And then I couldn't do any of you have to do all the exercises, right? So I couldn't do. So I'd broken my single when I fell in. So I was like, oh, I can't do it. And then John Collins was like, no, it's all right, Tom. You can borrow my boat. So they had me like on the water. All the coaches have like gathered around to watch, and they're like, oh, do whatever it is. The rig. I can't do anything. I couldn't do any of it.
The skills or the sort of drills or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember the first start camp I went to. I'd never sit in a single. Dan just told me to go to Nottingham. You'll be fine. I was in group, is it E or D? The low, it's like the lowest group. It's basically you've never rowed before.
Newbies.
I was 21. There was like 15, 14-year-olds because they're learning to row. And I was like, how old are you? And this guy be like, look at me dead in the eyes. Yeah, I'm 14. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, okay. This girl's taller than me. She's like 12. Like this is cool. Like I'm literally not even, I'm the oldest, but you wouldn't be able to tell, right?
Yeah.
And definitely not for my skills, right? So we go out of the single. And I've just sat in this single, arms away, like, oh yeah, easy. And they do this like, you go over and oh, this is kind of cool, but I'm kidding it, right? And then this guy comes up to me. I can't remember what coach he was, but one of the start coaches, and he's like, could you stand up? I was like, why? So you have to stand up and turn around and sit down. I was like, why? I don't understand. He's like, yeah, it's like confidence. So I'm confident. Yeah, I'm fine. But why would I was like, I don't understand. Why would you? Do you know what I mean? It was like, hey, it's one of the skills. When would you ever do that in a race though? It's for like, it's like saying you're going to learn to ride a horse, but the raw horse has to ride you first before you jump back at the back. I said, that makes no sense. And he was like, yeah, it'll be quick. And, hold on to the blades and just turn around and sit back down. I was like, that's not normal thing to do. I can't even sit with my legs bent the tiniest bit. So I stand up. I get to like halfway up. I'm like looking over the water. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go in. So I get back on. He's like, sorry, man. I was like, oh, I'll try again. And he's like, what do you mean? So, well, I was supposed to get back out, and do it again. And I tried, it must have been like 8 times. Every time, I wasn't even close to standing up. I couldn't even just stood there still, holding the blades. One of them, my knee went down into the rigger, the metal rigger. And I was just like, I was like, I don't know if this is the sport I want to do, It was just like, this sucks. This absolutely sucks. But I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, why? But
I remember having that same thought process.
So, well, how does that work? Like, also at the catch, let go your blades. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you ever let go? What race would you go, all right, I'm going to hold there and wave at me? Why? I'm not doing that.
I know. Yeah, so we did that a little bit at Leander when in the summer when it was a bit warm, so people could fall in if they wanted to. Yeah. I remember I'd never done these drills as well, and like one guy was One Direction, like he stood up, took one of his blades out and started like doing this. I was like, why? Yeah. But then the best we got to was get it all the way to the front stop, do a roll up, and then basically just get both your arms to touch your head, and it's just like, wow. But yeah, the tough one was also like back down and immediately take a stroke.
Suspension, I couldn't. I still to this day, I can guarantee you, I could not do that. I tell you, I fell in the first day at Caversham this season.
Yeah, I want to hear that story.
Oh, it was literally, I think it was like the first day. I think like maybe day 2. So we got there, meet everyone, like, you know, get to know everyone, and like, you know, like I think like an erg and a gym or whatever. I can't remember what it was, but it was like an easy day. Then the first water session in singles. Oh, sick! You know, I'm good in singles. I think, you know, quite like singles. I'll show what, you know, like a paddle like good. And I don't know. I don't ask me how, because I don't know what happened. But I rode to the top of the lake, and I spin. I take like one stroke, and actually, oh, the blade is like dead straight up. It just hit something in the water. There wasn't a buoy there, but there was. It might have been this. I don't know what it was, a stick or a bird or whatever it was. But it was like directly up. I'm like, all right, I'm trying to hold on to it, and I'm leaning this way, and it comes down super hard, and obviously I fall in instantly. Paul Stannard was the head coach. He was stood maybe 20 meters away. Did not find it very funny, as in at all. But also like he was just waiting for me to, you know, get back in the boat. But the bad thing is I can't get back in the dirt when I've fallen in. So I had to swim with my single to the side, empty it all out, and like get back in. And this is like the first time I've ever been coached by Paul. Which fair play to him. He didn't film anything, like, because that would have sucked. You know, Dan Harris would have filmed it instantly. But he was just like, "You right?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Cool." I was like, "Okay, this next 7K is gonna be really, really wet." This absolutely soaking kit. I was just rowing. Fair play. Like, none of the coaches were like, it was like, "Yeah, you know, you fell in. Like, yeah, good for you." The lads, the guys in the team, they had a lot of fun for like the whole week. That you bring your goggles, yeah. You go swimming cap, yeah. Good lad. You brought your trunks with you. I was like, please. It's been like 2 weeks now. Like, yeah, you know, like, have you got your goggles with you today? I'm like, it's an erg, man. Just like, just leave it out. But like, I get it. Obviously, if someone else fell in, I'd obviously be the same.
Yeah.
And even now, like, my name on this like spreadsheet, it's got a swimming emoji next to it. I'm like, oh, it's my first day. It was just like, just give it, you know, just. But I don't know how I fell in, but I had to just laugh about it and be like, well, that's embarrassing, but you know. And one of the coaches from the women's side, Darren, was like, he came out to me and was like, "Oh, I heard you doing your own program." I was like, "Oh, has he heard?" And I'm, you know, I'm not, you know, I was like, "Oh, I heard you like to swim." I was like, "Ah, yes."
There we go.
I was like, "Yeah, very funny, Darren." I was like, "Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah, this is awesome." And everyone was like, "Oh, he's got his goggles." I was like, "Oh, this sucks. This absolutely sucks."
Has it stopped now?
It now has, because there's other things now. You know, once you do something embarrassing, the last thing, like your haircut, is taking the piss out of my haircut, right? Yeah, that's fine. And then I wear these, wear like quite baggy trousers. And of course, me Aladdin, that's fine. I can take it. But it's just like, once one thing is a joke, it takes over the last thing, right? So everyone's got like, every once in a while they'll do something or something happens. And like, oh, that's hilarious. Let's use that for the next month.
For longer, we had one of the S&C coaches came in with like a really fresh haircut one time. So for like 2 years, he was just called Haircut.
Yeah.
And then the guy who did the telemetry once, like Mo asked him like, "Oh, what are you doing tonight, mate?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm going out with my missus, like probably going Nando's." Like, that's his name forever. Nando's is now his name, just from the most random thing.
This day they call him Nando's.
Yeah, I saw even people talk about
So
Nando's.
the gardener at Caversham was, I think, back in the day called Dangerous Dave. I don't exactly know why.
But Dangerous Dave, because every time he looked out the window, he'd just be walking past with like a chainsaw or like driving past in the train. And it's like quite often, because he was always there and he was doing loads of different things. Like one minute he's like, you're rowing along, like he's driving the tractor down Caversham, like doing the bushes. Like the next minute he's like in a boat over here, like cleaning a boy light. Like 20 minutes later, he's like on top of a trailer. You're fucking hell.
So he doesn't work at Caversham anymore.
No.
And they've had replacements, but all the replacements are still called Dangerous Dave.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's not even, yeah.
It's thing as well was like, it's like if someone says a joke to you, right, and you just don't laugh because you think if you don't laugh, they'll stop.
Yeah.
But they just go, oh, he didn't like that one. Oh, he's angry now. So there's no winning. Whatever you do,
Yeah.
they can be, oh, he's never in. You're just like, okay, well, I can't win. The lad in trousers has been it's like every day. It's so funny. I was like, we were putting the boats on the trailer today. It was kind of where you put your carpet. I was just like, oh. Do you know what I mean?
So how's it been other than the nickname? How's it been getting used to Caversham? Obviously, you were kind of where were you based when you were training in the performance center?
Well, a lot of time was in Caversham when like the team on a lot of camps and
So you spent a bit of time there.
Yeah, so like in the actual building, spent a lot of time there before. But I do think, like, you know, as an outsider, you never really can buy into it because you're just there, you know, to use the stuff.
Yeah, as a guest.
Yeah, you're a guest, right? Yeah, which is fair enough. You don't expect to be treated like a team member if you're not a team member. But once you got in, I realized the amount of like, oh, this place is amazing. Like, you know, it's got chefs that do the most unbelievable food for you every day. What I eat there is way better than I cook at home.
Yeah.
So if I know I've had a good lunch, I'm like, okay, I don't need all my veg for dinner because I've had like every salad, you know, piece of salad under the
sun.
Yeah, under the sun. Yeah, and it's like it's a massive salad that he makes every morning, and every morning it's like sausages, eggs, bagels. Like it's honestly the foods. I think as an athlete, going from having to cook and do everything yourself to having someone cook breakfast and lunch for you, it's the most amazing thing because it's one less thing to worry about. So when we trained at Windsor, it was so cool that we had a kitchen there, but you had to remember the night before to buy chicken, rice, toast or cereal, wherever you need it, you have to bring it with you. And if you forget it, you got to drive to Tesco and back. So when you get to Caversham, it's like, okay, you do the session, go change, shower, and you know you've got the most amazing breakfast coming up. Honestly, some sessions, it just does help to know that you've got an insane breakfast coming. Especially like lunch. I think Martin and Kusha, they did a Christmas lunch last week before we broke up for Christmas. It's most amazing. You'd pay like 40 quid for it. It was unbelievable. It was like steaks and like Biscoff cheesecakes and like mash with this, like, it was honestly, it was amazing. And I think just having that as an athlete, anyone would love it. It just makes it easier. The training's obviously hard. Like
you said, the last 2K of 12K ergo, you're like, 16K ergo, you're like, oh yeah, food soon.
You literally in the water and you come in like, oh, I'm starving. All I have to do is shower, get changed, and you can enjoy. And it's unbelievable. The training's hard, but it's what I expected. Like
step up from Windsor with Helen.
Luckily, Helen really made the program very similar. So it was like you kind of get an idea of how long sessions are. So you can kind of prepare in terms of like, if you've got a 2-hour session on the water, you can bring sweets with you in the boat and like get an electrolyte instead of just water. A little thing just make it easier so you now know what it feels like. It's still again a step up. Like I said, every level has been higher. And I think having the whole team there, the group of guys we have, is amazing. Like, a lot of us have come new members, a lot of us, but also the people that are still there from the last Olympiad. They're just so sound and like so easy to kind of mix in and not see themselves as, okay, we were here before you guys. It was like we in the Scudder side we have Matt Hayward, Graham Thomas, Karen Dixon, all the guys on the quad. They're back, and they're just like all the other lads. You wouldn't be able to tell. I think it makes it so much easier for new people to be like, okay, I'm not intimidated by anyone. You can just go to someone for advice, and they are really helpful in terms of like how things work, and like especially in Sierra Nevada. Like I've realized, being my first senior camp, it's a massive difference to chef's camp, and I was like, wow, this is really hard. But having Matt and Callum and Will Stewart there, they would often give you advice on how to like on a 20K when to eat, what time to like, before the session, what should you have, going to bed, how do you sleep better, what to bring with you that you wouldn't think about.
It's tough at altitude, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the worst part, is sleeping at altitude and like actually resting. And they're just little things like put a wet towel over the door at night, and or like a humidifier if you have one, or bring an extra set of earphones because they might die. It's little things that you wouldn't think about unless you've been for such a long time before.
Start bringing your own pillow.
own pillow, own blankets, like honestly anything. And
I had a whole, got to the point on these Nevada camps.
yeah,
I had, because you had a massive bag you can bring anyway. So I had a whole, like, 6-socket, like, multi-socket.
yeah,
Because then you can plug one into the French plug, but then you've got 6 English to use on your stuff.
Yeah.
But then the internet's not very good. No. You can't get the Wi-Fi in the room. So I got a Wi-Fi extender stick. So I basically managed to have my own Wi-Fi network in my room. Yeah. I got my dad to help me set it up. So me and Fred were using the internet, but I called it Rogear. It was called Rogear. It had an English name. And then like a couple of days in, I got a knock on the door and it's like Hodgie. This is one of my first cats. Yeah. And Hodgie's like, so I've been asking around and everyone says like, you're Rogear. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, can I have the password for your Wi-Fi? And I was like, I know he's going to give it out, but like, what am I going to not give Hodgie my internet? So I gave Hodgie the codes and he gives it to his vet. And then like the whole thing, like 2 days later, it's gone. But I was still just like, I've got to give it to him.
Yeah. But also like, it's even like, so like last year when on the Sheps camp, I just took like sweets and chocolate as food extra. Yeah. But this year I took like beans, microwave rice, jam, pesto, just tiny things. And honestly, Nando's sauce, sweet chili sauce, ketchup.
Just to vary the food.
I honestly made so much different. The other thing I started using every day was cheese. So we luckily had a snack room right next to the canteen or cafeteria, which had like toasters, microwaves, everything.
Just down the stairs and round underneath it.
No. So this is new for the last, I think 2 years they've done this. Yeah. I think the last year was the first year they did it. And they had like a mini fridge with cheese in there. And every day you'd go like 4 slices of cheese. And it just makes your meals, because the food is quite, I don't know how to say it, but
they got to make huge amounts of it. Like you're limited. Anything you can make in a massive pot, of course, it's going to be a bit basic.
I saw Matthew Aldridge do this thing. He put like bread, butter, salami, cheese, and then put it under the grill toaster.
Yeah.
And it was like is a melty cheese on toast. I was like, that looks unbelievable. Like, and you see other people, they copy and, they come in with their own food. It's really like the knowledge of the guys in the squad now from been previous years really just help you understand how it works.
Yeah.
Obviously, the coaching's, unbelievable. It's great. Variations of coaches, they're so on it in every session, but the athletes help you understand how everything works. But I've really enjoyed the first couple of months. It's been crazy, because if you had told me at the start of university that I'd be rowing in a team, I'd be like, you're mad,
Be the Olympic champions you are in the process.
Well, I should have said, what is rowing, if I'm honest. If I finished school and someone said, you're going to be a rower, I've gone, what is that? Because that's what happened when I went home, when I told everyone I'm now a rower. They were like, what? It's like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah.
Did you go to Bath? Is it good for swimming? Was that part of the decision?
Yes. So I was between Bath and Loughborough for in my final year, because Loughborough where the GB triathlon team train, and I was a triathlete as well. And Bath is where GB swimming, but also where there's a really good running coach there. I forgot his name right now, but he was like part of the British Athletics program. And then it's massive, so I did Bucks first year for cross country as well. And that was kind of the main reason. But the reason I didn't go to Loughborough is because Bath as a city is unbelievable. It's close to Cardiff, close to London, close to Bristol. And the sport is just, there's training. But I don't think I've been to the training village, but it's like heaven for an athlete. It's the biggest gym I've ever seen. So I went to Bath for that. And then I just similar to swimming with running, I was just running out of I was never going to be good enough to be a professional runner. Unfortunately, I was just too big and too heavy on my feet and just not that good. Or not good enough.
Yeah.
Which I think sometimes you just got to admit, okay, you've done all you can. You train, yes, you're doing PBing and stuff, but you're just not that good at running. You'll never be good enough to make it. And that's quite tough to be tell yourself. It's always easier if someone else told you, which obviously no one can, because you've got to just admit to yourself.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, what's big in Bath? And the rowing society is massive. So awesome. Loads of people I can meet that are new, people outside of my course, outside my flat, people in different accommodations, all that stuff. So you're kind of thinking socially, I'm sorted. All of a sudden, okay, well, actually, there's a career that you could, if you, push into it and you work hard, and socially quickly died. So I was like, okay, rowing's now everything. Don't go out. And so I don't, drink or anything anymore. But in my final year of university, I rarely went out. It was only if it was like the Christmas ball or whatever,
Yeah.
which I was happy with. I couldn't care less because I wanted to be a rower. I didn't want to be a social rower or a university rower. I wanted to be a full-time rower. But it took a lot of like transition from that lifestyle of like, you go out on Wednesday, you go out on Tuesday, you go out on Friday, you go out on Saturday. Your life is awesome. I loved it first year. I really enjoyed it. And then after COVID, my mindset was like, well, okay, I've not drank in like 6 months now and don't really want to go back to that because I wasn't really in that good of shape in my first year. I was like, go to the gym, a pump before you go on night out, just chest and arms every day. Just every single day, have a pizza and have a Lamborghini and then you're ready to go. That was it, right? Yeah, exactly. Looking back now, you couldn't pay me to do that. So I was quite lucky that I got that out of my system and then just thought all in and just, you go for it really, But
Yeah.
it is crazy sometimes to think where I am now compared to, I don't know, 5 years ago. It's not because, like boarding schools around here, you have rowing from a young age. I don't even know what boarding school was before I got to university because there was some private schools in Welfare. There's one or two that I know of, but I don't really, there's not a major thing. So I went to a state school. I remember learning about all boys school. I remember the first time and this guy was like, yeah, I went to all boys grammar school. I was like, where are the girls? Like, where? I'm just like, where are the women in your, not in your area, but like
in your town?
do you have women where you live? Like, do you have a sister? Where does she go in the day? Does she go to a girls' school? I was like, why? Let's just just do 2 schools. Although we go to grammar school, I was like, I'm going to pretend I know what grammar school means because it's like a test to get in. I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
an all boys grammar school makes no sense. Anyway, then, you come to rowing and, well, most people come through like private school rowing or, it's a different world.
Yeah.
But it's mental to think I'm trying to make it in that world.
It's crazy to think that one day, like the athletes who are passing the torch over to you now, you will be passing the torch over to hopefully the future generations. Once you've been in a veteran in the team and been through the Olympics and everything.
Yeah, well, it would, yeah, exactly. And I still stay in touch with Dan a lot, and I always be like, oh, is there any newcomers? Anyone new? There's a few guys. I'm like, they'll be the team in a couple of years for sure. Like just raw physical talent.
Yeah,
they work hard. They're developing really quickly. I think like Start or the PDAs or is it performance academies? Yeah, they, so you get an athlete come through, and the development you can do. If you've already got the physical kind of like, build, and if you've already mastered, if you're 6'8" and you've already been gym the rest of your life and you're a rugby player, well, you know how to work hard, you know how the pain of physicality, confident, you can just go from one sport to the other. And if you understand it well, it's scary. There's a guy, I think he was in ballet before joining Dan in Bath, but that means his legs are just so physically strong.
And
so
core.
Core, you can just, the power you can put down. Yeah. And if you can put that into a boat, it's like, wow, you're knocking someone who, ballet and rowing has no crossover.
No, not at all.
No, there's no comparison in terms of the race and competition, but that's why I think I was lucky to know or, be in the center where Start is, because it was just like a different world you can go to.
Yeah.
That you've never had any sort of like knowledge or experience of before, and you can go all in. That's what I loved, was you go all in. It wasn't like, okay, we'll do training once a week, like it was like every day, train twice a day, and you will get so much better so quickly that it's like, I love this part of it, because you see the same people every day. And it's like, okay, we're building relationship, building like performance. And I think I really, really think that's a massive part of why I'm a rower now. Because like it was intense, like every day, send your scores in every day, like really push every day, try and see if you can go 1K more in the amount of time you have, because I had to train to like time to start my, I was like, okay, if I get in the water by 6:45, you've got 50 minutes and you have to go off the water because you have to go home. So it doesn't matter about mileage, just do time. Yeah. Some days, okay, you 5K with your drills. If you can really lucky, you get like a couple of Ks in or pieces, and you got to go in. So it's kind of like, you haven't got time to be messing around and, fidgeting with, if your seat's broken, just whack another one in, or like, the blade, just get going as quick as you can. So I think that's a massive part of like, you just got to get stuck in with it, don't you?
I think that's so important that you're not too precious about the equipment or this or that. It's just, I want to row. I want to get the session done, like whatever it takes. I think that's such a brilliant attitude towards that.
Yeah, I
sure.
Yeah, the erg I had at home for my first, over COVID was this, do you know, like the really old ones, like, not, so like the fans of like just grey all around, you can literally pull the lever down. That's the one we had. And it had the new handle, but it was really shit. So when I got to uni, and the ones in the training village, like the brand new, like black, it's like, wow, these are unbelievable. And then you start in a really, really, really shit single that they've just been handed down for years. And the Janusek, and I think it's quite good because like you're going to fall in, you're going to crash, you're going to like hit things by mistake. So you need a boat that you can just be like, it can take
punishment. That's definitely a Janusek.
Yes, sure. But then I went from a Janusek to a
love a Yanni.
Which is just the
Janusek
Stanfleet, right? But it's a little bit better. It's a reverse wing, but it's still, I've rowed onto a landing stage by mistake before, and
We've all done it.
and the boat is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with the boat.
Did the boat down? Was the boat as next to Minerva Bath?
Yeah, it's the same one. Yeah. It's right. And sometimes so the water levels, they can come like pretty much like that sometimes. And I must have been asleep, so I just was rowing, and I just was like, whoa, I'm stuck. I look around. I've literally rowed onto the mountain state, pushed it off, looked at the boat. It was absolutely fine. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But like now, I rode an MPAC in now. I'm like, I don't think it'd be the same. Yeah.
If that happened.
Built for speed.
Yeah, exactly.
We do. I have been for a while, but we used to fix the Minerva Bath.
And there's a lot when we were in Minerva, was 2021.
Was it?
In the summer. So you would have literally just been fresh out of
like
the
literally a couple of weeks.
Do you know Andrew Corshaw from down at Minerva?
Is it like it's Andy's, what everyone calls him?
Andy,
in the yachts. That's
Josh.
I rode with him at school.
Did you?
Yeah.
He was always fixing a launch.
Sounds like
for like the whole entire time. I'm pretty sure he was fixing the same launch for literally like 2 years. I was there. I'm pretty sure.
Do you mean like fixed the launch broke, then and then you fixed it again, or you was fixing
one thing? But I think he was like a whole like paint everything. It was a complete new launch, but
right.
It was every day. I think that if that's who you talk about, I think because I was a guy called Andy that we used to talk to every day, and he'd always be like, how's the launch? Yeah, it's getting there. It's like, I can tell. It's been like 15 months.
I think this is not my Andy.
Oh, is it not?
I don't think, no. It could be another one, but who knows?
But yeah, Minerva Bath is, it's basic, isn't it? It's exactly what you learned without being, which is perfect for like, it's so close to the landing stage. And you're never going to flood the boathouse, because if that floods, the whole of Bath is gone, basically. But it's simple. It's got the boats at the back, you have some ergs, and then change rooms. There's nothing else there. And it's like it's a shed, isn't it? Or
basically,
a massive shed. But it does the job exactly. It's not what you get at like look at like the Oxford and Thames boat clubs. I've never seen.
I like that though. Like how many times there's so much power in like being the underdog. Like how much strength can you take from we just got a boat shed and also and then you start to really appreciate stuff when you get it. Like.
Plus, a lot of great athletes came from Bath, like Vicky Thornley, for example.
Well, Paul Santos was the head coach before, I can't remember who it was, but he's the coach of Helen and Vicky, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He told me, he was saying it was even more sketchy than it is now. It was just like literally one shed of the boats and and he couldn't, there wasn't a cycle path. So he just had to be like, right, go do this, come back. And that's awesome because
freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And you can just work as much as you can. You trust the athlete's got to do it. Because there are a few occasions where I was with Dan and he was like, the launch is broken. Just go do 3K and come back. And then, so I just roll by myself. I'd be like, oh, this is cool. And then I'd get back to him. I'd be like, what did you work on? I was like, I just went as hard as I could for 3K and then came back. But yeah, it's definitely like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having like a very basic setup.
Yeah.
Jamie and I were very lucky in our final year to get a double from MPAC, a double from Shep, and we were just like, wow, like look at this boat, like because we literally been running like Janusek doubles, or like we had one really old Hudson and it was just too small, and all of a sudden we got this like yellow boats, right?
Yeah.
And everyone in the Bath was like, where's this boat come from? And I was like, yeah, this boat was unbelievable. Like, oh, we feel amazing. I was just like, we were so excited to have this one bubble.
Yeah.
That looking back now, it's like, well, it's quite old now. It was the 2016 double that John and Johnny Watson used.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just
some boat to get.
it's cool, isn't it? But I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, we definitely do anything else. And we lucky got a pair of skinnies. I'm like, oh my God, like, we have legit the coolest
Orange
kit
cribs?
now. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
See, before you use your yellow ones and one's brown and you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you just more excited you get. So I only got my Alpaca the single last year. And I'm very precious about it, but I love it. I absolutely, it's like, oh, I don't know why. It's like, it's so nice that when you get, like you said, when you get it, it's like, this is awesome now. But at the start, when I was asking Dan about like, should I get my own single? He was just like, just learn to row first, like, which is fair. I really think like, just learn to be a better rower and then buy whatever you want. But, you know, if you buy an Alpaca before you learn to row, it's like, yeah, I love the confidence, but
yeah, you just wouldn't enjoy it as much either. Like, it's so much more twitchy.
yeah.
Plus, if you can't actually feel the performance increase, then you know.
Yeah, I tell you what, when I fed in my Alpaca, I hated it. I hate it. I was just like, oh, I hope the boat's okay. It was fine, but I was just like, oh God, this boat does not deserve to be fallen in.
Yeah.
So this boat deserves better.
But then Olympians have fallen in at the Olympics, so it happens, you know.
Oh, but it's still embarrassing.
It was the first day. Yeah, did Paul ever speak to you after that about that incident specifically?
We've not spoken about
Been invisible since.
No, to be fair, so him, Steve, and Christian, they're just like, well, you know,
Happens.
there's no one's. Obviously, I don't think they liked that fella, but they've not like, oh, it happens, a mistake. I didn't try. I carried on the session because I wasn't going to go in, was I? But
No.
yeah, literally nothing. And then I kind of prefer that to someone going, oh, do you remember, you know,
Yeah.
where's your goggles, mate? And filmed it. And, you know, one of the first times I got on Dan's Instagram was a video of me falling in a double. Like, we were at the catch and we absolutely fall in. And it made numbers. It had like 6,000 likes. I'm like, this is
So
like, this sucks. I have some commenting saying the barman let go of his blades. It's like, hell yeah, I let go. I was falling in. Like, what do you expect me to do? I was like this, you know, falling in. Like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't the proudest moment of my rowing career, but it happened.
No, but imagine the worst things that could have happened on Thursday. At least like all the pressure's off now. You know, now you can focus on training.
Well, I suppose, but yeah.
Yeah, in that sense, right?
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like, oh, you've had like your first moment and now you can like, can't get any worse than this. That's not what I'm saying.
That's what happens. It's like, this is the lowest, so hopefully.
Well, you said that obviously the journey and the destination.
Yeah.
We've gone past January, now in February.
Yeah.
Your first full season at Caversham.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to nowadays?
Oh, wow. So the next thing I'm really looking forward to is the next training camp where we go away again.
Viz?
Yes, it is. Honestly, that got me through the first camp in Sierra Nevada. Was just thinking about a bit because it's absolutely amazing. Like, it's Portugal. It's, you know, sunny Portugal. The weather, the lake's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I think for the whole year, I think I'm just looking forward about just being in the team and seeing, you know, whatever happens. Like, I might not make it to Worlds in the summer, and that's fine because it's another step from last year. I might do, and that'll be great because that's another step forward. Hopefully, if I can race some World Cups, just the experience I got last year, put it into play now as a senior member. Be like, okay, now I've worked so hard to be here. Let's see what we can do. Let's not lose it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we'll make the most of. You have a great team, great group of guys, really hungry. We want to get after the next 4 years. Let's not waste this time and be like, oh, let's be safe and let's just work as a team and be like, okay, we want all of us to go to Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's like 7 seats in a sculling boat. Let's just get those 7 seats. Let's, you know, I think it's like, I don't want to say like, oh, if I don't go to Worlds or if I don't make this boat, you know, that it doesn't, you know, I want to make everything the top, you know, that's all I want, but it's not, like I said, it's not as easy as, like I said, because the top gets smaller and smaller, and little bits of work I still need to do, and either learn or achieve it. So I'm excited just to see what happens this year, because, you know.
I like that attitude though, because like you're not trying to like rush and then put yourself in a vulnerable position where, for example, you may get either burnt out or injured again or something like that.
I enjoy it. Like, that's the worst part. You just, and we're Project LA is what we were. So, and LA is in 4 years. Like 2028 is a long time away.
Yeah.
So if I don't make a boat this summer, okay, well, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to trials, come back, do the process again. If I do, I got to hold my seat. This is, you just got to look at like, it can go either way. You could be like number one Scott. Okay, cool, you're safe, but that's not your seat. You got to hold on to it until you lose it, and you got to win it back.
Exactly.
But if you don't make the seat, or you want the seat, so you got to fight for the seat. So I'm just looking forward to actually the group of guys we have as well, to see what all of us can do. I think it's a real good group of guys that are hungry to get some senior medals, get some, put your name out there, basically, just get some stuff under your belts. And
for sure. But yeah, that's the approach that you got to be taking, in long term. Because how many athletes have been through Caversham and didn't succeed, for example? So you got to be thinking long term in that regard. So I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talk about this a lot, isn't it? It's controlling controllables. You're not in charge of selection. You can't decide whether you're going to go to Worlds or not, but you can affect what you're doing every day, get better. Hopefully that's the outcome, yeah. But I love judge yourself like that. Right?
I love the nap room. Just take the energy boost, hear what you can get, and look at what the other guys in the team are doing. I love all of that.
I think also as well as I think I'm excited. This sounds ridiculous, but I'm excited for consistent month in, month out with the same people, just getting better and better and better. Like I said, this time last year, we weren't actually based anywhere, and it was a bit all over the place. And I was injured. I was I'm a bit away from the team. And you're doing some training, but it's not consistent. And okay, your knee's better, no, your knee's not. And so this year, touch wood, I've had, very unproblematic first, 5 months, 6 months since joining. Just come off the back of camp, feel really good. You're gonna be knackered and run down stiff. That's fine, but just be more consistent as much as I can. So when I get to the summer, whatever race I do, like I said, I know I can enjoy it because I know what I've done.
Yeah,
January, February, March. But in the months where they suck, don't they? Do you know what I mean? Nothing happens. I know we've got trials in a couple of days, but except for that, there's not much going on. Racing.
Well, you guys did Brick, right?
So again,
did you go to Brick?
So I personally didn't, because I had just a little rib niggle. I just after.
But I saw the rest of the guys there. I think Callum was there.
So Callum, Hayward, Tobias,
Bally was there.
Yeah.
I used to row Bally. That was my last Henley campaign. Was with him.
No way, in Leander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. So all of them went to Brick. I think that was quite cool because it was. These guys were now, you just had your name in the GB team, right? So you were just a full member of the team, and you're going there to represent GB with people not just in rowing. Is it High Rocks?
Yeah,
there was loads of people.
Yeah.
So
it's like a CrossFit competition. Yeah.
There was a lot of people from rugby or CrossFitters. I mean, I counted there were 250 ergs there.
Yeah,
not just for Brick, but across the entire Fit Festival, because it was just a lot of different sports coming together, etc. You had Jamaican people coming and racing as a cool rowings club, and
because as soon as you see I don't know about you, but as soon as you see any GB kit, well, I'm interested. If there's a group of people on the same GB kit, or if you go on to an airport and you see a team in the all same kit, they're what are they? So I can imagine it would have been cool to go to Brick and be okay, firstly, these guys, Olympian, blah, 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 they've all done stuff and they're all in the same kit. They're as a team. They're representing the same team. That must be really cool for firstly the rowers themselves to feel we're really in the thick of it, but also to the people who are not even in rowing, like you said, the CrossFit or whoever goes there. Even if you live in Birmingham, you just went because you thought, well, why not?
Yeah.
You see these people, and you're oh, that's actually really cool. So I'm really gutted I missed that. However, I heard it wasn't a great place to actually erg because it's so hot in there. Is that right?
It was very dry, yeah.
Yeah, I got told that it was you come out, you're a 2K cough for a couple of days afterwards.
Mad. Also, just you've got 60 ergs going around you, especially on that first day, and it's just there's just too much going on. Give me a row of 10 ergs. That's what
quite overstimulating, isn't it?
Yeah, so much, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
I think also our listeners are definitely going to kill us if we don't hear the story of how you came about to win Henley.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sorry for spoiling the result, but so you come back from the World Cup, you got 3 weeks. You're obviously back in a different doubles combination.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Yeah, it was a really quick kind of like couple of weeks. It was a really insane couple of weeks actually, because the weeks leading into Poznan, you're really excited and you're in the same doubles band. All of a sudden, she's gone to do a quad, and I'm now with someone new. Luckily, I've obviously rode with him before, it was fine, but it was like, yeah, Poznan was cool, it was fun, but never mind, you know, a couple of weeks now to start again. It was a really good couple of weeks. I did, unfortunately, have to, the first week, I had to go to a funeral at some point. I didn't know it was coming. Then I had to go to the funeral. I think it was like the Monday or Tuesday, like 2 weeks before Henley. And I just remember it was weird because I was in the funeral. I was sat there. All I could think about was Henley. All I could literally think about was racing and like training, and you know. And I don't think I've ever realized or been in that situation in any of the sport where I've been doing something and been so focused on just like what race we have coming up. And it was like weeks away. It was 2 weeks away. So it wasn't even like it was a couple of days. I remember like not being nervous, but I was just a bit like, I feel like it's on myself. Maybe it's just in my mind, but I felt like there's pressure on me now to perform. Because every race, the commentators were like, yeah, and just fresh off his senior debut. I was like, Jesus, like, I was like, yeah, but now you know all this experience internationally. I'm like, okay, well, one race, but you're sure.
Yeah, calm it down. Commentators lost the big shit.
It's like, I'm still learning, but sure, you know. But it was like, well, Henley's, well, you guys know, Henley's mental. Like, it's like nothing in any sport I've done before. And I live in the middle of Henley now, which is chaos. It's just absolute chaos.
You're not in the flat on the corner at the top.
Yeah. Which
There's been Aurora's flat since 30 years.
Yeah, which is just like, it's just like the noise and just like how many people are and Henley's really quiet for 51 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's bizarre, right? And so so we weren't racing to the Friday, but the racing starts like Monday. Is it Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday now, yeah.
So we had to do qualifiers first. We didn't pre-qualify. So Jamie and I had to go to qualifiers the Friday before, which we weren't expecting to. And not in like a vain way, but I assumed having pre-qualified the year before in the same exact boat with the same exact people, I'd assumed anyway, I was like, okay, that's weird.
Interesting.
So yeah, I was like, fair enough, you know, like
Just because you didn't race at Marlow, basically.
Yes, I think so. Because we didn't race together that year. They were like, well, got to prove you earned it. You know what I mean? That's fair enough. So we go to qualifiers. I've never done qualifiers. It was mental. Like 400 boats, all, you know, and it was a really cool environment because it was a late afternoon race. I think it was like 5 or 6 o'clock. So the bank was like covered, absolutely covered in people. And we, you know, luckily they did go very well and we were safe and we qualified, but it was like a slight second of like we might not qualify. It was like we should, and I God hope we do, but it could happen. Right, that we don't qualify, and I would never be so embarrassed in my entire life if we didn't.
That's a good moment to think that there, and just make sure you're not, because there's always that one.
Don't be that
undercooks it.
Yeah. Don't think we can paddle. We're racing hard the whole way, which we did. Because Jamie and I were like, we have this. I want to start. And I was like, okay, we need to make sure. We can't win Henley unless we qualify, right? So we do that. And it was cool. It was quite a cool event. I think it was quite cool doing late in the evening. So a lot of people were there watching, and I had a lot of messages being like, why were you there? I was like, I didn't choose. Then I was told I had to qualify. Like,
so you pre-qualified the year before, and then Henley looked at the start list and they were like, literally never met the. Let me see.
Who is Cedol Dafydd?
Who's this guy?
What a weirdo. Do you know what I mean?
I'd like to see the stats on Henley winners that came through qualifiers. There's probably not many that.
That'd be interesting.
See, but
that's quite a rare.
I had this moment. I was like, well, surely they must look at the name and be like, well, I don't know. I just assumed we would have qualify. I don't know why.
I feel like I would have assumed the same thing. Yeah, and had gone and raced for GB and
Cedol Dafydd, who the f- is that guy? Who is that guy? Why is a Welsh rower here? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so we do that, and then we've got a week now before we start racing, a literal week. And Henley training during Henley week is a nightmare.
yeah.
You've got to train like 6 a.m. or like 8 p.m. when the racing starts.
Yeah.
And the wash is like, it is unbelievable, isn't it? In a double, we do some pieces, I'm like, that was utter shit. I know we're not meant to say that, but that was really bad.
Yeah.
So we went back to Windsor for a couple of days, just because like we got to get away from. It's not easy boating. It's not easy like coaching. It was, you know, so we went back to Windsor. Luckily, Windsor wasn't flooded, and it's like perfect. We can really get some mileage done. Really like just focus. Me, Jamie, and the coach. Okay, we get to Henley, and then like the training is just, you know, really bad because obviously like you do a race start, you're gonna hold up. There's a crew in front of you. And there's a women's 8 from, you know, Texas doing the most mental piece past you. And you try to listen to your coach when there's someone coming up towards you, and it's just like,
Yeah.
anyway. So then when it was like actually starting, the worst part was, when you're not racing, you just got to wait all day. So that you'd train in the morning, and then you got to go home, just watch 12 hours of rowing, and then go to sleep and do the same thing. So like Wednesday and Thursday, that's all I did because I didn't want to go out. I don't train before race. I would never do that.
Yeah.
I think Jamie quite smartly, like he coaches Henley Rowing Club, and he did some like, he went to like support some ergs. So he just does something to get his mind off it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, leave the house, you know, which is fine. And so we get to like the first thing in Sudbury Rowing Club, which I felt really unfair on them because they were the second crew to qualify.
Oh my.
Yeah, which I think is mental, right?
Yeah.
And fair play to those guys. You know, like they're like full-time engineers. Like just, you know, they work so hard to qualify. I'm like, what? How is this work? I don't understand, because we went from not being qualified to being first seeded. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So they must have thought they're not good enough to qualify. So you know, they should be all right. So their first race, you know, you have that kind of last minute nerves of being like, okay, it's win or lose. This is all we have, you know. And then the first week goes fine. It's quite simple race. Just go out, stay ahead, and, you know, just make sure nothing happens. Our steering was terrible off the start in a no pressure race. It was absolutely terrible. I was like, right, well, we can't do that again. And then the Saturday, I don't know if you remember the rain. It was like terrible weather.
Yeah.
And we raced these lightweights from Germany that went like 6:13 in Varese World Cup.
They looked quick. We saw them on the side.
And they were really,
Yeah.
like, yes, we were like, oh, they're lightweights, but 6:13 in any crew is, yeah, it's a really respectful. Yeah, I think the quickest I've gone is like 6:15. So I was like, well, these guys are legit, you know. Sure, what I did do actually, I don't know why I did that. I must have been bored. But the week leading into it, I'd gone to all their Instagrams and liked every single picture. And I have no idea why. I was really bored, and I'd follow them. And I'd get them to follow me. Then I'd unfollow them. I don't know why. It's mind games, or just bored, or just being an idiot, or, you know, I'd be like on the story, like, cool, it's good rowing. Just like, nothing mean, just be like, nice. You know, and then I don't know if they noticed it was me. Because when we met them after the race, one of them was like, we follow each other. I was like, do we? I was like, I don't really. That's crazy. I don't remember that. That's mental, right? But
That's wild.
But they were good lads, man. They you know, don't ask me why. I'd know a reason why. But I think it was like, these mind games, you know.
Yeah.
And so we raced them, and it was quite a you know, under control race. But we had to work a little bit hard, and the rain makes everything, you know, shit. I mean, your hands are slippery. So just don't catch a crab. Basically, it was more like, don't fuck up.
Yeah.
Basically, make the final, and then we can go from there. And then the final, we raced an American double who they came like second and third of the US Olympic trials, I think, in the single. So again, we were like, we don't really know anything else other than that. But, you know, they must be decent. And I remember seeing the bowman. It's like a 6'8" guy. And I was just like, oh my God, this guy is massive, right? And we're off to start. Again, the weather's not great. Now, this race was a lot closer, I'll admit. This was races like, okay, you like, not panicked, but really work hard, put your hand on the fire, especially when the stream goes to their side.
Yeah.
And you're now next to the bank, and you just see them gaining on you, and then you can't see the bowman, and you no longer can see the stroke man. It's like, oh God, they're coming back on us. But we luckily kind of trusted that, you know, if we can hold off in the middle when it's not our advantage of the stream, then we should. You know, I think it was like 2 lengths at the end, which is not massively far.
You don't feel safe.
Don't feel safe enough to be like, you know, ways to the crowd and all that stuff. Just
Especially in the double.
yeah, exactly. You know, stop on the pose, you know, the comeback and special, you know, but no, in a good way. I'm just saying, like, we couldn't do that. We weren't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was also like, you know, you cross the line, and as your fit comes to the last 10 meters, you know you're like, okay, we've won now. This is sick. And you just get excited. But you got to remember, you got to still row that last 10 meters. So all of a sudden you sort it up, you start like going crazy.
All falls apart.
Yeah, exactly. But it was luckily we were ahead enough, and it was, the feeling crossing that, it was unbelievable, that feeling. Honestly, it was like, obviously I knew I wanted to win Henley, but actually doing it was like, oh, that was pretty cool, you know. And then the ceremony was really cool. My whole family came down, and I love my family, but my God, they were embarrassing that. Now, my parents dressed up because they were in stewards, right? But my brother and 2 sisters just looked like they were going to town for like a night out. I was like, what are you wearing? And they were looking around going, what are you wearing? Because I had like a pink tie, like, the brown trousers, what are they called? Chinos, yeah, which I never wear.
You have like a bath blazer.
Yeah, nice yellow and blue blazer. And he was like, what are you? I was like, could you not see that you're the odd one out?
Yeah.
And it's like, why is everyone wearing these blazers? Like,
It's such a weird.
it is, I admit.
And you almost go for, look, we got some Rogia red blazers up, and because we're at Leander, so we both have a Leander pink tie and the pink trousers. And we're like, oh, that's like the most horrible combination. Let's do it.
Wow. It's a lot.
Yeah, and the Dutch ones where
the brutal.
my sister was like, look at that guy's jacket. I was like, oh yeah, that's like a really cool story. And she's like, that looks horrible. I was like, okay, there's a story behind why. It was just some guy that forgot to wash his jacket. But yeah, they came and visited, which was really cool. And you got your trophy and, you know, like pictures and everything. And it's really, really fun. The wildest part was this Leander party, which I'm not a celebrity, obviously, but if I had to imagine what it's like to be a celebrity, is to win a Leander as a Leander athlete and be in the Leander party.
Yeah.
And like Americans going, oh my God, did you win, Henley? It's like, yeah, just flashed the medal. Yeah, it was, you know, low key, but no, it was really cool, and it really like made me excited for this year. I think that was probably more fun than Poznan, even though Poznan was more beneficial for me, I think.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like Poznan, you know, I understand how intense international, but like Henley was just like, you could like just win, just have, you know, go for it and win it, and just be like, that's your first Henley win. Like, you'll remember that. And I think I really liked the fact it was with Jamie as well. So obviously he's my first ever doubles partner.
Yeah.
My training partner from like 3 years before. 3 years now since we've been training together. And it was special to be able to win with him while also Dan was there. And it was really cool. So it was quite like a happy, like, not a happy ending, but it was like, okay, before we go in the team, because by this point we kind of like knew we were going to get invited. It was like the last thing we do with like Helen, we've been with for a whole year, with Dan we've been, and you know, the project, it was like leading into Henley, and especially the year before we lost and felt, honestly, that when we lost that Friday, I remember telling to Jamie in the changing rooms, I was like, I don't ever want to feel like this again. This is horrible, you know?
It's a good motivator. Another thing about losing, like, it's a good
it really is. And I really like the fact that we did it together. I think it was even more special. Obviously, winning Henley's crazy, but to do with someone that you've trained with for like years, and like, I remember we joke about winning Henley. I think like 2 years before, we'd be doing like a piece, and we go, "Oh, mate, one day we're definitely gonna win Henley." Like, yeah, nice. It was like stuff you just look back now, like, oh, that was cool, but you know, we do like square blades, and if we do 2 strokes off the water, you go, yeah, that's the Henley winning crew right there. It's like, you know, from like when I was learning to row.
Manifestation, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I think we did manifest it. Yeah, but it was a really cool experience. I'm just hoping, like, again, what I learned from that, you know, day in, day out of racing, and sleeping terribly because obviously Henley's, it just doesn't, for the whole week, there's just the noise outside my window was, I genuinely was like, I just can't get, it was like 3 a.m. and I was waking up at 5. I was like, I've not slept single second.
It's really insane. Like, and just like, especially like, because it's Henley. Like I did 4 or 5 campaigns. Well, my whole family used to come and move in my house when I lived in Henley. So like there was always people around, and like my sister and my brother would be down. They'd have their friends. We used to have like a marquee in the garden where all their friends would just sleep.
Yeah.
Because everyone's come down for the party, and obviously to watch me a bit, but the party. But my brother wanted to go out, but doesn't know anyone in Henley, but he knows a few of the boys that I used to row with. So I'd walk him down into town and like drop him off with Dave Bow, basically. I'd go and give him to Dave Bow and like, Dave, look after him, go for a night out. Like obviously like sort of 8:30 before I go to bed. So I just remember it's like I've like stepped into hell. It's like a crack formed in the middle of Henley and the hell just like walked out of it. Like it's absolutely insane in the middle of town at 9 p.m. Henley.
It was mental.
Yeah.
I honestly, the Saturday night, I think.
And I've never lived there in the middle.
Oh,
yeah. Oof.
It's mental.
So they say it's 10,000 people live in Henley. On a Saturday of Henley, there's 200,000. So that's 20 times the normal amount of people. Yeah. That's how many.
I'm not surprised.
Nice.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'd have people like from university that have nothing to do with rugby. Like, oh, are you about? Like, I'm in Henley. I'm in Magoo's. I'm like, what are you doing in Magoo's? Like, first of all, no, I'm not in Magoo's. I'm racing.
Of all the places I'm going to go in Henley, it's not going to be money.
I've never been to Magoo's.
Okay, I respect that.
Have you ever done an early walk on like the Friday or the Saturday or the Sunday, and like there'd be like people asleep on the pavement?
Yeah,
So.
we walked in. Jim and I would walk to the boathouse at the free pound at like 7 a.m. He's some zombies walking around.
Yeah.
Not slept. Like either like lost their shoes and their phone, and then looking around like the benches to see if it's in the boat bay, and it's like 2 different worlds.
Yeah.
Like 11 and 1. They all hit like rowing, right?
Yeah.
It was like pie. There was actual racing, and like through the week, obviously, more people go pie racing. So by the Sunday, you feel like not left out, but like there's only like 70 boats. I've already been like 500 boats to start the week, and
Double that with qualifiers.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the boat bays are completely empty, which is weird. The weirdest part is like you start the week and it's mental. Right? It's like every crew school is, and all of a sudden it's like I think in our bay it was us, Oizeiler, and I think it was the German like women's double. That was it. And my dad's like 6'4", right? And we were watching Zyler walk out after I'd won my race. He was walking out, and obviously Zyler's, I don't know if you've ever seen him in person, but he's
Massive, yeah.
absolute the physique of like a Greek god, right?
Yeah.
And I go, look how big. My dad goes, he's not that big. It's like, what? Like this? He's a foot taller than you. What are you acting hard for, Dad? Like, there's no way you don't think this guy's big.
Yeah.
I just remember watching him was really cool, actually. Another part of Henley is you're up close with the best single sculler in the world, and you just see how he is, and he's very just like within himself. He doesn't really chat around. Very focused guy. But just the sheer size of him made me realize I am tiny. No, I mean for an average rower, I'd say I am pretty small.
I remember the year that Crocs first came out. Obviously, rowers all wear sandals. Some people got Crocs, and like Crocs were lame. Like, oh no, like they're well lame. Like, you can't wear them. Like, you've got to wear Adidas sliders or whatever. And then that year at Henley, we were like one boat bay over from where Drysdale was boating, and he's boating in and out in Crocs. And like from that point on, I feel like the whole of Rome was like, yeah, they're all right actually. But Crocs are all right. Yeah, probably get some Crocs now. I reckon actually. Yeah.
But I remember as well, like. Joe Zyder has the shoes that in the single they move, so he can. I think his feet move. Do you know that?
Oh right,
yeah. His feet. I think it's so he can get length from his hips. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Okay, yeah.
Feet move.
Yeah.
So his boat was down on trestles, and Jamie and I were walking in, and obviously, kind of like, let's have a look at these shoes. And you're just like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Like, we should do that. Obviously, we're not going to. It just you look and you go, oh, that's really interesting that he does that. And I think it's for his hips.
Yeah.
I don't know how they work.
Yeah, really like a sumo squat. If you like poke your toes out,
is that what
you'll be able to have your hip angle would change slightly. Yeah.
So I think the mentions there in his final, and you can see. I think that the angle from a TV crew, you can see his feet.
Yeah,
that's really interesting to me. And we were looking at his boat.
Yeah.
Firstly, his boat is absolutely massive. I think he's got a special end packer just for him, and it's like an X12. That is honestly an unbelievable size single. I was like, this is like way too big for any of us. But it's cool to see like different crews up close and what they do pre-race and like how they prepare. And I think it's also cool as like after the race, do you know, like when you've just raced someone, you go shake them, you find a boat tent, and you know, like win or lose, you just be like, it's obviously nicer when you're the winner of the race. So it's hard as a loser, go, oh, great job, mate. You know, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But it's I think it's a really, really cool thing to be up close with all the fan, like it will clap out as well.
Proper unique.
It's really, really unique. Yeah, I don't understand the dress code, but I do think it is unique. Like some of the blazers are horrible.
Yeah.
I'll admit that. You know, my bathroom isn't too bad, but it's like like the red, green, and white stripes go down, and then you wear like pink like highlights of trousers.
Yeah.
Mental.
There's some mad ones. Some mad ones.
It's fashion that you only find at Henley. I think it's also like cool that you can, as a singles colour, do that in there with your boat. You can experiment. Also, fun fact to point out, both of you came from swimming. Because obviously Zyla's got massive swimming history.
Wasn't his dad
Granddad, I think, rower.
yes, but was his
Dad was a swimmer.
Yeah.
I think,
so he's a build for a swimmer's ideal, you know, wide shoulders, but
Yeah.
you know, quite lean. Like, you know, Michael Phelps build, isn't he?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, he came from swimming. I think he just missed out on Rio, didn't he?
Did he?
So he just decided to go to rowing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just win Paris. Let's tell you,
Yeah. In 3 years, he won worlds. It's just mental. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, but look at you progressing through the ranks quickly as well. Like,
Got a bit to catch up.
hey, well, look, we're all going to start somewhere. So, you know, I think you've had a better start than most people. So, would you just before we finish?
Yeah.
So, like, in terms of rowing, I think you've sculled most of your career.
Yeah.
Not done too much sweep.
I wanted to ask that. Have you done this?
I have with the University of Bath, but like I've done Four's Head. I've done Eight's Head, Buck's Head, Met Regatta. I mean, like, I'd say I
think about it.
I honestly, like, it just feels like I'm going to break. I've never been in a, like, there's just no disrespect to my fellow teammates on Bath, but I've never been in a good sweep, like a Leander rate or like a Brooks, you know, like those, you know, the
Elite level.
like, because we were like novices or ex-novices and
It's shaky and stuff.
well, yeah, like I said, you know, it's like one stroke, you're like, okay, I've broken that hip and now I've broken this hip, you know, but I don't know if I enjoyed it. I might enjoy, like, if I ever sat. If you put me in the middle of the GBA, I'm pretty sure I'd enjoy it. It's because it's the GBA.
Eight's Head this year, I guess you might sit in a. Are you rowing it
I don't.
under your club or?
Yeah, Leander is my club. We haven't heard anything about Scholars 8 or anything like that. I don't know. I know it's a tradition. Oh, I think they have done it in the past.
Yeah, and it's still fast.
But yeah, sweeping. I don't know. I'd love to be like, because I can imagine 8 of you in a race. Like, I'd love to know what it feels like.
It feels massive. You can't, like, obviously you can't hear your teammates. Like, say you're in a bout here.
Yeah.
Sternberg could be having a completely different conversation. They could be talking about aliens. You're talking about, like, you know, pyramids and state of politics and
Massing bow pair, chatting shit. Get on with it.
But yeah, that's it. But it's not like that in, like, obviously sculling boats.
No.
So I was going to ask, single, double, or quad, what's your boat?
Oh, double for sure. Like, as in racing and just training. I think I've not been in enough quads that have been like insane high level that I've been like, oh, I love that project. I've not really done much projects on the quad.
Yeah.
But I do just love something about you and one other person just syncing up to one stroke and just, like, I don't know, something about the double. Racing a double, I think, is the most fun.
Well, it's fast as well.
Yeah.
It's the most elusive as well, isn't it? I think. Well, certainly with the pairs, like, for me, it felt like on the sweep side of it, it's elusive. There's nowhere to hide.
No,
but you've still got someone to train with.
Yeah, it's like a big single, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what. So I like a single. I really like a single. Where in a quad, I guess you can, you know, not get carried, but like there can be situations where 3 of you are better than 1 or 1 is better than 3 or whatever, where you in a double, you can't have a good double if both of you aren't working hard and working together. And you did this whole notion of like, oh, bow sits the boat or stroke pushes. I know it's like a joke, but it's not really a thing, isn't it, Joe? You have to equally work to be one stroke, don't you? And I think in a single, I love that it's all on you. Where a double is also all on you, but you also got someone else who's also all on them.
Yeah.
So it's just, you're just building together. But yeah, I mean, like, any boat, honestly. Like, any boat to selection wise, I'd say any boat. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was just interested in like the preference because I personally like double is also like my favorite. But I've done a bit of rowing in quads, obviously a bit of rowing in singles. But like double, there's just something about the fact that you've got 4 oars, so you could technically be like a mini 4, and you can. It's still the smallest boat category to be able to go sub 6 thanks to the Sinkoviches.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it?
Love it.
Yeah, I do think it's cool. I think going faster doubles pretty insane feeling as well because it's quite a light boat, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
and you hold it by the canvas, you don't have to go and hold it by the riggers and stuff. It's like perks. I don't know.
I agree. Yeah, I think single when a single goes bad, it can be an awful place to be. When you've got a bad single, or your racing's not going the way you want, and
It's all around you.
you're all by yourself, and you turn, cry, and stop. It's ways, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Cool.
Sounds good.
Cedol, it's been super fun having you on the show. It's been Tom and I have like obviously spoken. It's been a while since we had someone who's just like going into the team and is like right in the middle of their own journey. So like sometimes like we mostly speak probably with people who are like a bit past us to hear the story. So it's super motivating and like inducing a lot of confidence in like obviously the future of the GB team. To like, I'm not trying to put all of that. Yeah, I'm just saying like just to like see that like I think the future of rowing is resting in good hands in this country. So like I'm really looking forward to what you guys are going to do in LA.
So am I, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming. That's all right. I'm pretty sure it's been cool. It's been cool to kind of get a bit of an insight. Yeah, we sometimes maybe had a few too many rows for it's interesting to listen to back in the day, but right now I think it's really interesting and like for our listeners as well. Yeah. And just to hear how you come up and how if you want something enough, you can make it work. You can find a way.
Absolutely.
It's a common theme and it's good to hear that that's still, you don't have to be from a posh school. You don't have to have rowed when you were a kid. You don't have to have done a lot of things like 50% of it is just turning up with that attitude. So that's cool to see. So that's possible. And like other people can see that, I hope so.
At some point, we're going to have you back on for some more brain rowing fun chat. So that'll be great. As for today, it's been super fun chat. So that concludes everything for this episode. So on that note,
See there?
easy there. We're not doing it together.
Cue the music.